Little intro music.
Oh yeah.
We're here with our special guest today.
The #1 produced podcast in Western.
I knew we'd like that one.
Why are we doing this? Listen, people, the best thing about our comedy scene in this area.
Oh
Boom.
my goodness. Welcome back to Move the Mic podcast, everybody. What a special episode do we have prepared for y'all. Eric?
Hey, man. I'm Eric Williams. We're with Damien T today. Today's guest is one of the co-hosts of Rock 102, the host of BAXIES musical podcast and Fun Bag, and he's even inducted in the Massachusetts Broadcasters Hall of Fame.
So when does the special part come?
Our guest today is Mike Baxendale. How you doing, Bax?
Good, boys. How you doing?
Good.
Awesome.
Pleasure to meet you. Thanks for coming out here.
Thanks for having me. I know you had Steve here the other day.
it
He
was
said he had a
great.
blast.
It was a great time.
Yeah, that's cool.
How do you put up with them, though? Let's,
You know, I told you my back has been hurting me. The last month. It's been carrying him for all this long.
For 20 years?
I got him hoisted on my shoulders.
That's crazy.
My knees are buckling. No. It's been all good. All good with him.
Yeah, for sure. He's
That's
a great guy. We
We
had
had a lot of fun. We had a lot of callbacks to your show. We did. Well,
Yeah.
as soon as he was sitting in the chair, I looked at him. I was like, "Well, thanks for joining us on this Tuesday afternoon."
So basically, you're a couple of fanboys,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
100%,
yeah.
100%.
Perfect.
Well, I'm blue collar, right?
Yeah.
So
Sure.
you guys can, as I told Steve, you guys can change the vibe of an entire job site.
For sure.
You know, it's true, man.
true.
Sometimes we come in there and there's deliveries all day. We can't get in and out, and then you guys come ripping
the
on
one
in
staple of the morning time. You know what I'm talking about?
telling you, now we're all sending jokes back and forth, talking shit just like you guys.
Yeah.
So
Good.
you
Well,
know,
it's
definitely.
surreal to have you in here because it's just like I said when you first walked in, we grew up listening to you, 100%.
Yeah.
Like it's just like my dad had Rock 102 in the garage when he's working on anything. When we're driving around. Well, he was drunk driving around, but
Well, you know what feels really good, and occasionally I'll get this when someone says, "You know, I grew up listening to you because my grandparents used to listen to you." I'm like,
jeez.
"Oh, thanks a lot, dude. That's
I
great.
wouldn't go that far.
That's great." And I figured like probably, another 5 years away from saying my great grandparents dragged me into your
Oh,
show.
yeah,
Thank
jeez.
you. Great.
When did you join Rock 102?
March 20th, 1995.
wow,
I know.
we were just little
I
little pups.
was like
What years were you born?
92.
94. Yeah.
Jesus. All right. Yeah. Well, yeah. It'll be 30 years in March.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at like where media has come in the past 30 years, I mean, did you expect to like see it like it is today?
I didn't expect the last 6 months.
Yeah.
I still don't. I still don't think it's going to last another 6 months. No, it's totally.
Yeah.
It's totally a different world now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I started in '95, and I'm going to end this career right now tonight. So there you go. It's all going to work out perfect.
No, the only way is up. Brother.
That's
The
it.
only way is up.
That's it. No. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, where are you from? Like, what got you started and everything? Like, family situations?
I grew up in Rehoboth, Mass, which is
Okay.
about I don't know, like 10 minutes out of Providence.
Rehoboth?
Rehoboth. It's like 8,000 people. There's no stoplights. There's no McDonald's. There's no sidewalks. When I grew up, it was nothing but cows and barns and stuff like that. Now it's all McMansions and gold-plated roads and
Love
stuff
that.
like that.
Oh, my
But
goodness.
it's a very, very different thing. And so after I graduated high school, I decided to go far away to college. I went to Marquette University in Milwaukee because there are no good
Wow.
colleges here in Massachusetts.
No,
I got to
none.
get away from this
None.
thing. So I went there, and it was 5.5 years of a bachelor's degree.
Nice.
Didn't want to learn too much too quick. I thought that was
There you go. Got
A little-
got a little extra out of them there.
oh yeah. Well, much of it was a alcohol-induced blackout, but it was still. But
Good old days.
I got to. I mean, I know you guys are both comics. I started doing stand-up back in college. I did it for
Yeah.
like
That's
9
awesome.
years.
That's awesome.
Really? That's awesome. I
yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah, I did it for 9 years. We did it. I used to write with a friend of mine, and still very close friends.
Cool.
To this day, he's still doing it, and
Yeah.
he actually started. This is kind of a bizarre, but it's actually really cool. the world's first Muslim comedy tour.
Oh,
Really?
And it's called Allah Made Me Funny. And the guy's name is Preacher Moss. He's a very dear friend. I still talk. I still hear from him like once every Friday, every week for 30 years.
Nice.
And he and I started writing together right before he converted to Islam. So if you can imagine it,
So you got the good stuff.
Yeah.
we got the good stuff.
Yeah.
And so we would get together like on a Wednesday afternoon and write all night long with a couple of 40 ounces of Old English 800.
Oh,
and
man.
we'd spend the
Man after my own heart.
and we would spend the night writing stuff, and then the following day we look at all of our notes, and not a goddamn thing was funny. It was like we have wasted our time and our parents' valuable money to come up with absolutely nothing. But we did the open mics. Then then eventually there was a couple of really good clubs in Milwaukee and Chicago that we went to, like the Improv.
Nice.
Did a couple of opening spots, which were
Nice.
pretty cool. I
Fun.
actually did some pretty
Yeah.
cool ones. Did, Kevin Nealon, I did
Ooh,
from Saturday Night Live.
wicked cool.
Daryl Hammond.
Yep.
Gilbert Gottfried.
Oh, come on.
Oh, man.
Who else?
R.I.P..
Was, yeah,
This
there were
is-
a couple. There were a couple others
Yeah.
that were really, really cool. But then, all of a sudden, while I was in college, I was also doing radio and started working at a radio station. I mean, Marquette's like an urban downtown campus, and it was literally like 4 or 5 blocks from the nearest radio station. So I started working at this one radio station doing phone surveys.
Oh.
Back when radio stations had things like resources
Yeah.
and money, and I would call people around dinner time, ask them questions about what they would listen to on the radio, and if they made the mistake of saying we listen to that radio station you work for, I'd call them back once a month and bug the living shit out of
There
them.
you go.
So,
Nice.
Little telemarketing.
Right.
Never hurt nobody.
so eventually, I got to not only be in that research department, I began to run the research department, and by the time I was technically ready to graduate, they wanted to put me on the air, and by the time I was 23, I'm doing mornings for the first time in Milwaukee.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was 5 years at that radio station, and it went pretty smoothly. It was a terrible radio station, horrible owner, lots of really talented people went in and out of there.
Yep.
But at some point, comedy had to stop because it's not really comparable vocations.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
by the time you'd finish at a club, it's 11 o'clock. You guys know you're kind of caught up in this.
Man.
This adrenaline rush.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And you don't crash until about 1 or 2.
And then you're up at
I'm up at 3, and so
3:30.
it's like it's not compatible.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's crazy because it's just like, even if you have a good mic or a bad mic, you're not sleeping. You have
No.
that juice in you
The
regardless.
bad mics are
Yeah.
the worst, obviously. 'cause
Yeah, for sure.
actually, I used to like the bad ones.
Really?
Yeah, I really did.
Why's that?
Because it was the only way to really learn stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, if you do a good set, you think, oh my God, I'm the next George Carlin.
Yeah, yep.
But most of the times you're not.
Yeah.
And you learn from those times that you eat a big bag of shit
Yep.
right on stage.
That's
So
for sure.
I actually, to me, that was more helpful than the times I absolutely crushed it in front of the
there you
crowd,
go.
and they were many, many times. But
Let's do it.
but that's what happened. So I worked at that radio station in mornings for almost 2 years, and I was ceremoniously fired, which I thought was an excellent business decision on their part. And 30 days later, I got hired by the radio station that was literally across the street, like 1 block
Yep.
away. The company that owns that radio station is the company that owns Rock 102.
Oh, no way.
Wow.
So after a series of transfer, I was at that station for 3 years, and then I got transferred to Springfield, Illinois,
Okay.
and then that lasted 7 months. And then I was transferred here, and I've been here ever since.
Why did it only last 7 months in Illinois?
Well, so they paired me up with a guy who it just didn't work. I mean,
Oh, okay,
it just the chemistry wasn't right.
Yeah.
The radio station was kind of a really struggling property.
Mm.
And what happened was they realized that we would much rather make money than try to spend all this time cultivating a radio show that may never work.
Yep.
Makes sense.
So I found out about it in advance. I found out like 30 days in advance, and I went up to this is what I want. This is one of the most satisfying moments for me in radio.
Yeah.
I found out 30 days in advance that we were going to be let go. So
Okay.
I marched into the general manager's office. I said, this is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that we're being replaced by a guy in Chicago that we're going to syndicate this guy Kevin Matthews show into Springfield, Illinois. Kevin Matthews is a brilliant broadcaster. But the guy's reaction was not to deny it. Was like, how'd you hear that? It's not really important how I heard that. Just
Yeah.
I worked in Milwaukee, knew enough people in Chicago, and all of a sudden I find out some information. He said, "Well, it's true, and the company is already looking for opportunities for you. If you can just keep it quiet, not tell your partner." I said, "Oh, don't you worry. I'm not saying a
The
damn
lips are
thing."
sealed.
But so I got transferred here. The guy I worked with is a guy named Rob Carson. He's got a syndicated show now. He's working for Newsmax. He's doing very, very well. And he's had a couple of jobs since then, and I've had just one. And so I'm very
Holding
happy
it
with
down.
That's, yeah, I was gonna
Holding
say,
it down.
having the one is, I think, way more harder to do.
Well, the general philosophy about broadcasting is you want to work at a lot of radio stations because that's just the way to do it. My feeling was the
around.
complete opposite. It's like
Hunker down.
the last thing I want to do is move all my shit every 3 years.
Yeah.
And to me, it made much more sense to stay in a place, cultivate an audience and stay there. And it's really worked out. So,
Well, I mean, plus you got like kids and a family. You don't want to like uproot everything.
oh,
and
no.
hightail it out and find a new spot. No thanks.
No.
I
Doesn't
mean,
sound
look
good.
at it like this. You're a literal icon. You know what I mean? And like these people, I mean, I've never heard of that guy. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you saying that, but I mean, I guess I see myself as just regionally notable, and I'm a guy who lives in Hamden on a particular road with my wife and my dog. I mean, that's how I see it. I mean, I realize it's not how everybody else sees it, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm just a regular guy with an odd job.
Yeah.
There's definitely like levels to fame and like stuff like that, but even just within the past 10 minutes, I can tell that that's like the fame isn't even a part of your
No.
concept of it. And that's, for us as well, like this platform is for everyone who's coming on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're not trying to make a better set. We're just trying to have a good time and show that Western Mass is full of incredible talent.
A lot
in
of talent.
all
It's
You know what?
areas.
It's true, and there's a lot of comedic talent, but there's musical talent here. I mean, there's a lot going on in the Springfield, Western Mass area, which a lot of people. I mean, I grew up in Eastern Mass. I got to tell you, at no point in my life, from any time I lived out there, did I ever even think of going out to Western Mass. I mean, it was like literally you get to Worcester, and then
That's
you jump all the way to the Berkshires. Everything in between
That's it.
doesn't really exist. It's like the Yeti or
Thought we were all hillbillies.
no. Actually, what we thought was that most people in Western Mass were Birkenstock wearing, dope smoking
there you
hippies,
go.
which is not
That's-
entirely wrong.
I was going
I
to say,
mean-
you're kind of right on the head with that.
But we just never considered Western
Yeah,
Mass.
yeah.
Right.
And then when I finally moved, well, actually, I take that back. I once took a train from Attleboro to South Station, from South Station to Chicago to get back to school.
Really dating yourself here, Bax.
I know. But then the train came through Springfield. And I'm like, oh, that's Springfield. Let me go back to my newspaper. I mean, that was really the first impression.
The
I
Basketball
had
Hall of Fame, and that's it.
Right.
I was going to say, when
Right.
did that get put there? I
don't
know it was like a way to just bring up the area, right? Like, didn't they pay?
No. Basketball was invented in Springfield. Or was it?
Yeah, it was invented at Springfield College.
Oh, that's what it was.
Really?
Yep.
The original Hall of Fame was at Springfield College.
Okay.
And then they moved it to the riverfront.
yeah.
Okay.
The old building had served its purpose, and then they wound up building what they've got now.
Yeah.
So that's
I
what
thought
happened.
I think I heard a story somewhere that like Springfield paid the Hall of Fame Association to have their building in Springfield to like create
Well,
some sort of.
It was so long ago, but there was a lot of negotiation about moving it to places like Orlando.
Yep.
And other places. I mean, I think the Hall of Fame board has not been thoroughly enamored with Springfield when there's opportunities to make money somewhere else.
Yep.
Right.
Which is, and I have my own feelings about the Hall of Fame, about their commitment to the area. It's
Yeah.
not it's not great,
Right.
but
right.
I mean, this is where they're at.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking.
And it's
We were talking with Steve last time, and we brought up all the community work you guys do, like the Mayflower Marathon.
Mhm.
And I mean, Basketball Hall of Fame bounced you guys out, but it's all good. You guys are at MGM now, moving on bigger and better things.
It wound up being a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure Steve said the very same
Yeah,
thing. It's
exactly.
like the best thing that could have happened was them kicking us out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, on a lot of fronts, because one, it really drew attention to the event, but then we also wound up being in a place that genuinely wanted us to be there,
sure.
and it made the entire event just so much better. I mean, on every front.
Yep.
And so I want to thank the Hall of Fame board for
Perfect.
making the biggest mistake of their lives, but making a great decision for us.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, well, speaking of like the community work and the Hall of Fame and the Ride to Remember and stuff, you guys are big in the community.
Yeah.
And we were talking with Steve about numbers, and he wasn't too sure about it. He was like, X-Packs. And we were just like, so like when you started the whole like the Mayflower Marathon, like what kind of money and like food drives and all that stuff were you bringing in?
How do you put all that together? Like, is there just you just start making calls to different people?
So this was an event that actually started, I think, the year before I got here. So it would have
Okay.
been like '94. Remember that?
Okay.
The year you were born? Anyway. So it was already an ongoing event by the time I got here. And
okay.
initially, it was located behind the old Basketball Hall of Fame. There's a little esplanade there right next to that pedestrian bridge that is not really usable anymore. But it basically, so we were tucked behind the building. You couldn't really see us. We just had an RV and a small canopy tent. And the idea was to fill one truck. One truck.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that was it. And we did it. And we thought, well, this is fantastic. We've done this. How successful are we that we filled a single truck full of food? As the years went on, we were overfilling that one truck. And then someone made the great idea, hey, why don't you try 2 trucks? And we're like,
Yeah.
get out of here. We're never going to fill 2 trucks. Well, we filled 2 trucks. And then we did that for a number of years. And someone said, well, what about 3? How about 3 trucks? Now, by this point, they had built the new Hall of Fame, and we moved across the parking lot.
Yeah.
And that was the way to go. So it was like 3 trucks forever.
That's awesome.
But then we had to call in additional trucks. And like this year, we filled just about 6 trucks. So
That's work.
and it was a
man.
couple of years in before we actually started tracking the dollar amount of food. So what we did do is we had scanners from initially it was Waldbaum's that provided the scanners, and then Big Y provided the scanners. We scanned every item. And we were able to keep a running dollar amount. So I remember years where we raised like $30,000 of food. We thought, well, we are crushing this.
Yeah.
But now it's over $200,000 worth
My
of food every
God.
year.
That's
And it's just, I
insane.
mean,
That's-
it's just
dude.
amazing. And the thing about it is, it started off as a goofy radio station event, but what it really became was a full community
It's
effort.
I was just gonna say it's an effort. Like,
And one of the things that I've only told this story like a handful of times, but to me it's really important. The reason why I became so focused and passionate about it is the first year, the open pantry had a couple of volunteers that showed up, and these were people who had been homeless, who had used their services. And we were, there were periods throughout the first couple of years where there were like long, quiet times, some lulls in the activity. So I got a chance to talk to 2 of these people. The guy's name was David, and there was Susie. And, they both had like major struggles in their lives, and they were talking about, what they had been through and how the open pantry gave them hope at a time when there was very little hope in their lives. And it really transformed who they were as people, and
I can
they both
imagine.
got clean and sober and tried to turn their lives around the best that they could.
Yeah.
So I mean, there was a huge impact to hear those stories and to talk to them for the next couple of years until I think they've passed on or moved out of the area or whatever. But to me, I've never forgotten that lesson, and that's why I think the Mayflower Marathon is so important.
Sure.
And the good part about it is I think people in the community also understand that this isn't just about homelessness. It's about it. If you lose your job or you can't feed your family, or you have to make the decision: do I pay my bills or do I put food on the table? Who wants to make that decision?
Yeah,
and it
it's
can
a tough
happen to
one to
anybody.
make.
You're literally one paycheck away from.
I've been there.
Yeah, I mean, we all have been.
Paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm still doing it. It's awesome.
yeah.
I mean, I have 4 kids. I'm 30 years old. My oldest is 12. My youngest is 8. And, you know, like, thankfully, me and my wife, we got our stuff together at a young age. Because we
But never bought a condom.
But, man, it's tough. Like, I'm... Fuck you.
Thank you. I'll take it.
Fuck you, Eric.
I love those jokes.
I know. I love them, too. I deserve them. No, so...
Boy, Bax was a lot of fun, but what a dick.
No, he's a dick.
You should hear the shit I say about him on stage.
No, we have a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun.
We go back and forth. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. Probably some influences from you and Steve.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it. No, but I understand what you're saying. It's like, you know, you have to make really tough decisions when you have kids. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, the fun and stupidity you had when you're young really can't interfere in the raising of kids, and that's kind of what this really boils down to. I got 3 adult daughters now, and you know, I watch where they're heading, and I'm thinking, well, they're all doing good.
Yeah.
But you know, life has a funny way of changing at the last possible second.
For sure. No, I'll say, like, I'm wore thin. You know what I mean? I got podcasting, full-time job, stand-up comedy, 4 kids at home, a wife. Like, sometimes I feel like I gotta, you know, knock something out. You know what I mean? But I don't know how they'll take it.
I know. Those are tough choices. But you know, I think they're going to be okay. Because they're not here, and they're not used to being having you be around. So it's perfect.
All right,
That's
all
good.
right. All right, I got one for you now.
You know, people.
Here's 100 for the kids.
You know, you know, the word deadbeat seems like such a dirty word, but really, it's just a man looking out for himself.
That's
And
right.
is that wrong? Really?
Oh, no.
No, he has great kids. All his kids are pretty
Thanks,
awesome.
man.
How old are they?
Awesome.
12 and youngest is 8.
Wow. Okay.
All right
Very
in the
cool.
middle. Yeah.
And you're trying to catch up?
No.
He's got a long
I'm
way to
just-
go.
Yeah, man. I'm just working on holding down a girlfriend right now. That's
And
it.
she's
Holding
in
down,
Oregon.
as in like trying to, like an escape route type of thing, or
No, she already got out. She moved
Yeah.
to Oregon.
Yeah, broke up. Yeah, she broke up with me in Oregon, and long distance is hard. You know
It
what I
is.
mean?
Yeah.
It is, and it's just like all the way across the country. I don't know why, but it's just like even I have friends all across the country, and it's like when they're home, it's like nothing ever happened. You know what I'm talking about? But like we
Right.
talk maybe once a week, send each other Instagram reels and stuff like that. But it's just like, distance is tough, and we're working on everything. You know what I'm talking? I got a lot going on myself. I don't have any kids, but it's just
Yeah, but
like
you know what the reality is, though? You could be married for 30 years and be sitting on the same couch at different ends and sending each other Instagram reels. So it's really no different at all.
yeah. Hey, I mean,
It's funny because, like, me and my wife, we kind of like, if she has something she wants me to know, like she's not happy with something, you know, she'll send me like a Facebook reel or a video of somebody else's relationship where this woman,
somebody's doing the dishes
With the same problems, right?
She's just quietly doing the dishes, and then the camera shows the husband in the background just playing video games, and she's like, "This is not a relationship, or this is not a happy relationship. This relationship is broken, even though it's unspoken."
just like love you too, babe. Fucking-
I love opening that. Do you have a loveless, sexless marriage? Where the hell is this coming from?
They're listening to me.
What is this?
What the fuck is she searching on her phone?
The algorithm is not nice today.
There is like a whole theory that the algorithms have purposely disseminated relationships to cause more
Turmoil.
If you and your partner aren't happy with each other, what are you going to do? You're going to sit in your phone. You're going to keep on. You're going to stay on Facebook.
Right.
But if you're happy, you're not on Facebook. You're with each other.
Yeah.
So what does Facebook do to get you on Facebook? They send you reels that make you want to fight. Oh, I never thought about that before. Yeah, she is a bitch, isn't she? You know what I mean? Like, it's it's real.
And for some reason, I keep getting TikToks on UFOs and meat recipes. It's like, okay, well, I guess I got a happy marriage then, right?
That's great.
You are a bro. Instagram says you're a bro.
That's it. How to barbecue meat and where all the aliens are.
And all you get is Alpha Brain commercials.
God, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's
Alpha
literally
Brain,
all I
aliens.
get. Yep.
Yep.
Mine recently has just been Billie Eilish's tits.
Pause challenges.
I'm a little old for the Billie Eilish demographic, but I understand what you're getting at. I really do. I mean, I'm not blind.
Yep. That's smelling what I'm stepping in. That's all it is.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Let's just say the headlights are on full. What's that? High beam.
Yes.
High beam.
Sure.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
The high beam challenge.
The high beam
I
challenge.
just made that up.
Hey, that's a good idea.
So tell me about this loveless relationship with your wife that you're in.
We love each other.
I know you do. Okay, it's 300 hours. Okay, good. All right. We're cooking.
We're working.
Oh, no. It's just tough, you know? I mean, when you have... Yeah, when there's all these different influences on how to raise a child properly, and you have 4 kids with extremely different personalities,
Yes.
it's really hard to figure out how to raise your kid properly. It just is.
It is.
There is no right way. And that's where I'm at, is like, we can do our best, but really we just have to lead by example. They're going to be whoever the fuck they're going to be, no matter what.
Yeah. So I'm a divorced dad. My first marriage ended in divorce, and I'm not going to get into all the details about that.
We don't want to.
While there's still garnishment of wages, but I got remarried to a wonderful woman. She's a teacher, and she's awesome.
Nice.
We've been married for actually be 6 years in February.
Congratulations, man.
things
That's
are good.
awesome.
Yeah,
That's
so
really good.
So things are things are good. Just because even your loveless marriage can survive, and you'll be okay. It'll be okay.
What's hilarious is Taylor is totally going to watch this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Taylor, don't listen to the old man.
Shout out.
He's belligerent, came out here with a chip on his shoulder, hates driving through Northampton and the parts that he's not really aware of.
Yeah.
Don't listen to me, Taylor.
He's confused. He doesn't know what a podcast is.
He's got one, man.
Yeah, I got one, but it's not on video. And good reason for that.
Well, you're just stuck in your old ways. That's all.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll show you the way to the light. Okay.
Well, we saw you just posted on Instagram. You had somebody that came in and sold 23 million albums worldwide.
Yes.
Can you tell us who it is? Wow. Are you going to make us guess?
Well, when is this going to run?
4 weeks.
4 weeks. All right. I'll say it. It's
The Drake.
no.
I'm kidding.
No.
Billie
it's,
Eilish.
No. Someone much older.
Okay.
The woman's name is Alison Moyet.
Oh.
Alison Moyet was in a band called Yaz or Yazoo.
Okay.
And they had a couple of hits in the 80s. And she wound up going solo after a couple of years and sold millions of records, mostly in Europe and England and Germany. Had some notoriety here, but she's only doing 10 North American interviews right now, and I was one of them.
That's really cool.
What was her last name?
Alison Moyet, Moyet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I had that way wrong.
Amazing voice, just an incredible voice. "Don't Go" would be a good song to listen to. Just this big,
We'll make a
giant,
list.
booming voice.
Just to give a face to her.
Yeah, you probably most Americans may not know her, but she's a
Just hit 2 on the
yeah. That's her. That's her.
Hit 2.
Oh,
No,
Two.
Position
Two.
2. buddy.
Number 2. Position 2.
Position 2.
Okay. All right.
I'm learning.
All right. Now you're doing good.
hip
Back to his
Anyway.
camera,
What
bro.
am I doing here?
Anyway, so that was a really good
Now
interview.
hit
I just did that.
P2.
I just did that one today.
There we go. There she is.
I figured it out, guys.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
learning.
not
Very beautiful,
that's not
by the way.
That's not what she looked like in the 80s. She looked very different in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this.
She kind of looks like the mom from Step Brothers.
A little bit. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Seductive.
But the voice in this woman is like so rich and deep and just she kicks ass. She's awesome.
What,
Really is.
How do I
what
get
kind
back?
of like?
Oh, I got it.
What, so, what genres of music are you like most influenced by?
So, I mean, kind of, I think we all kind of gravitate towards the music we listen to when we're like 18 to 25 or so. That usually tends to be our pocket.
Megadeth.
Yeah,
Fucking Anthrax.
But I've got all those. I mean, I interviewed Dave Mustaine.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Whoa, dude, that's awesome. Dave Mustaine is like legend.
Frank Bello from Anthrax I talked to. That was a great interview. That guy is like
Oh
the
my
most
God.
down-to-earth guy. Dave Mustaine is not as down-to-earth as you might think.
Really?
Yeah, a little uptight.
I
Not,
could see
not a
that.
great sense of humor with the guy.
He got stabbed in the back pretty good once, you
But
know.
he did okay. He
did
got
great.
through it.
Hanger
So
18,
so
man.
did Paul Pierce. He got stabbed a bunch of times.
Ouch.
No, I mean most of my my musical taste is pretty diverse. I mean this classic rock stuff I love, this metal I love, this alternative and punk and there's some jazz I like. I mean I'm kind of really all over the place. And my podcast is mostly focused on whoever I can get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I
so
mean, we're all there, man.
yeah, I mean, but I've talked to metal guys. I mean, Rob Halford from Judas Priest I've had on a
That's
couple
cool.
of times. That
That's
was
cool.
cool. I'll tell you what. Here's a great story. So I had Rob Halford on. The first time was on the phone. The second time was on video. And so I'm talking to Rob Halford on video. Freaking the metal god himself, Judas Priest. At the end of the video, it says, "Hey, you're looking good." I'm thinking, hey, you know what? If Rob Halford's going to tell me I'm looking good, God damn it, I'm looking
That's
good.
awesome.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'm going to take that as a compliment. Why not?
hell yeah.
Rob Halford for crying out loud.
That's cool. That's cool. So, like, what has been your, like, I don't want to say your favorite interview, right? That's not fair. But, like, what has been, like, your, like, most excited for interview? Like, out of all the people.
Well, I can. So there's a couple of interviews that I've done on the radio. I would say like one of the best interviews we ever did was this guy named Chuck Negron. Chuck Negron was the lead singer of the band called Three Dog Night. I don't know if you remember them.
I don't think
Joy to the World. They did.
Oh, yep.
Those guys.
Yep, Joy to the World.
That's
Yep,
him.
yep, yep.
That's him
Oh,
singing.
no way.
Well, the story of this guy. This is. I will never forget this for as long as I live. He had written a book about his life, and he had a long history of substance abuse. And the big story was that he was doing so much coke in the 70s and 80s, big gigantic rails of blow all the time, that his balls exploded.
What the fuck?
What?
That can happen?
Somebody call Lewis right now,
Oh,
brother.
fuck.
You
I'm telling you, he had a total scrotal rupture. He had done because he had done so much coke. Now, can you imagine that?
That's insane.
You're sitting at the coffee table. You got Joy of the World playing on the hi-fi. All of a sudden, you're
Yeah.
picking your balls off the ground like you're grabbing the laundry off the floor. I mean, can you imagine
He
that?
went-
I've heard of like Go-Gurt dick from
Fucking hell.
from cocaine, but
he
never mashed balls.
He went. He went from 8 balls to no balls. That's what it
Well,
does.
thankfully he was all able to get it back into working order. But
Oh my goodness.
yeah, that was we
That's
were
insane.
I thought you were gonna
incredible.
say like he had like a hole through the his
no,
septum
no.
of his
Artie
nose.
Lang.
I know
his
a guy.
balls blew up. I mean,
Fucking insane. I knew a guy who did. We called him Captain Kirk. That was everybody knew him as Captain Kirk. He owned a landscaping business, Captain Kirk's Landscaping, and he paid all his guys in cocaine.
What?
sure.
Uh-huh. So
Is there a retirement program? In that?
He sounds like he was on radio in the early '90s.
He's still in the '90s, Eric.
Yeah, that's me.
So yeah, man, like he could like put his finger
Yeah.
up into his and come right out the other side. There was no center cartilage
Huh.
because the cocaine would just rotted away.
That's
Oh yeah, I know a lot. I knew a
That's
lot
insane.
of people who had a deviated septum, and
Yeah.
the hole went right through their head. So I mean, it's like
yeah.
just
I have a
nasty
deviated
shit.
septum, but that's just because my dad kept punching me in the face.
Well, listen, I've only known you for a little while. That's another $100
Yeah,
right
it
there.
is.
That's $200 on that one.
Go.
There you go. Got a nice fat stack here.
That's right, brother.
Working toward it.
Another great interview that I did that actually was very excited to do because he was a guy that was not easy to get. It's probably not a guy you know at all, but I did it on the podcast. This guy named Andy Partridge. Andy Partridge is literally one of the most brilliant songwriters in British history. Absolutely amazing what this guy could do. And he was in this band called XTC, which is still probably my favorite band ever.
Nice.
And it took forever to get him, and there were all kinds of technical problems. And we finally wind up getting him. Now, this is a guy who, in 1982, stopped touring, had a breakdown on stage in Paris, never performed live again, ever. He had his wife had dumped all his Valium in a toilet. He had like a 12-year Valium addiction, and he stopped cold turkey. Now, if you can imagine that would kill most
That
people.
could kill you, yeah.
Well, he stopped cold turkey and never performed live in front of an audience again. So I get him after he had this interview with Rolling Stone that was terrible, and he said, "Well, I hope you do a better job than Rolling Stone did on me." And we wound up getting along great. In the middle of this interview, I started asking him about songwriting, and he said, "We're talking about specific songs." He said, "Well, hold on a second. Let me grab my guitar." He grabs his guitar, and a guy who hasn't performed live for anybody since 1982 suddenly playing his guitar for me. I'm like,
No
what
way.
the fuck is this? It was one of those moments where, like, you got this rush of
Yeah.
adrenaline.
Oh, yeah.
I ended the interview. It was almost an hour long. I ended the interview. I sat there for like 10 minutes. I'm going, I don't
Soaked it in.
believe that just happened.
That's so cool.
And it was
man.
one of these interviews that when I was looking for other guests, I added that to the pitch email that I normally send, and people who knew who he was, like, how'd you get that much
Yeah,
out of
right.
him? I'm like, well, I don't know, but
Yeah.
The power of conversation.
yeah, I mean, it was just
Good
one of those. It
conversation.
was one of those things that was like that was really something special. So
for sure.
yeah, so Allison Moyer, Chuck Negron, and Andy Partridge from XTC. 3 people you don't even know,
The
but you
top
know
three-
what?
top
Those are
three.
the real good
We're
ones.
gonna
cool
definitely
find.
watch your podcast.
Yeah,
and get
for
to
sure.
know them.
Yeah, there you go. Absolutely.
Plug that pod for us one time. What is it?
It's Baxies Musical Podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, the Rock 102 YouTube channel, rock102.com, and the Rock 102 app, brought to you by Metro Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram and Chicopee, and Rock 102 Springfield's Classic
We
Rock.
got a whole radio commercial out of that, y'all.
You
That
sure
was
did.
awesome.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was awesome.
Thank you. I'll be here for a little bit longer.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's fucking great.
Oh man, we're having a good time.
Yeah, no. So one of my favorite interviews you guys had was Ralphie May.
Ralphie May.
Oh, right.
Ralphie May. I grew up. I think I want to say Ralphie May, Ron White,
Yep.
and Dave
You interviewed
Chappelle.
Ron White?
No. But I'm
We
just
had
saying,
Ron White. Yeah.
Really? Wow.
This is years ago. We were like one of 2 radio stations, American radio stations, at the Just for Laughs Comedy Festival in Montreal.
Cool.
And everything was set up at the Delta Hotel in Montreal, and every comic was in there, and it was phenomenal. So we had our producer at the time, this guy named Bobby Booyah, was our producer, and he looked just like a young Joe Rogan. Like, it was like
Okay.
uncanny how much he looked like Joe Rogan when he was
Handsome
young.
fella.
Absolutely.
The Fear Factor days.
So we were sitting outside of a bar, and every comic at this thing was in the bar, and we would send Bobby in. People thought he was Joe Rogan, and they say, "Hey, would you mind talking to these guys from Springfield, Massachusetts?" So one of the comics there, we probably interviewed. We were there like two, maybe 3 years, and one of the comics was Ron White.
Yeah.
And this was right before Ron White really hit. Like, he had just come off that whole thing with Jeff Foxworthy,
Blue Collar Comedy Tour.
Blue Collar. And Bobby says, ask him about him in New York. And he does the whole tater salad thing.
Love that.
That's his.
Well,
That's got me into comedy.
So before he comes on the air, now we're recording. It's not live. We're recording everything. And he said, "You the guys that want me to be on the radio?" We're like, "Yeah." He says, "All right, boys, just want you to know I am fucked up." And I said, "Well, sit right down. Let's not waste a moment of this."
Get into it.
And he goes through the entire thing, and it was absolutely genius. It was so great.
It's amazing that his career began on 10 minutes of stand-up comedy.
Yeah,
That's all they gave him.
but
It's
you know what?
insane.
That's if you've got a great bit,
Yeah.
that's all you need.
Yep.
10 minutes can change
Yep.
change your life.
I think I have it memorized.
Yeah.
I think I have that 10 minutes memorized. Pretty damn good, where it's just like
But
the
he's-
drunk in public.
He's also
And it's
Yeah.
I was drunk in a bar.
his
You
they threw me in public.
Into public.
his flavor of autism is remembering bits.
It
He
does-
can't remember songs,
it-
but
it-
bits.
Doesn't matter the comedian. I could go to an open mic and I know your whole set.
Yeah.
It's kind of creepy.
It is creepy because it's just like I'll tell Dame, I was like, hey, you remember the first time we met and you ran that joke about the Anunnaki and all that stuff, and he goes, dude, I didn't even know who you were. And I was like, yeah, I was just sitting in the freaking
Yeah.
the crowd listening.
In fact, I did your set the next night.
that's it. That's
Word
it.
for word.
That's it. No, we have
That's
a,
why I got him real close because
Yeah, I know.
I seen he could be an enemy fast.
But we had some great comics on. We had at one point we had Lewis Black and Tom Cotter
oh,
together.
No way.
Whoa.
We had Greg Giraldo and I think
Oh.
Tom Papa at the same time.
That's awesome.
Tom Papa's
yeah.
cool.
Greg Giraldo's a
Giraldo.
freaking legend.
Oh, for
And
sure.
that's where we met Lisa Lampanelli, and
No,
that was
no
that wound up being
way.
a good friendship.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
Lisa.
And she couldn't wait to do it again. In fact, we
Yeah.
had her on the next night, and she
Really?
was funny both times.
Of course.
her on
Yeah.
those old school roasts, you can just never forget some of her jokes.
We
We're just
we had a Bax and O'Brien roast many years ago,
oh my God,
and we had her there, and she just
tore it
she
up.
just blew the place up. It was
Love that.
so great.
How do you handle like did you see yourself being in front of these kind of people? Like did you see yourself reaching this level? You know what I mean? Maybe 20 years ago, 30
Well,
years ago.
It depends what you mean by that. I mean, the fact I'm talking to comics and
like-
musicians and stuff like that.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, like some of you, like people you look up to in both comedy and music and all that stuff. Like you listen to them, and
I got a really good education early on. The first radio station I worked for, it was basically a hard rock station.
Cool.
And so at the time, that's when like all the hair metal bands were coming out. And what I learned was, like the younger these kids were, the more rock and roll type, woo, that
Yep.
kind of shit. Like, I mean, it was like phony nonsense. And they come in their spandex
Characters.
pants and they were cartoon characters.
Yeah.
But the old guys that would come in were just literally regular people. Like they had spent the last 20 years trying to get back to the people they actually were.
Yeah.
So the older guys you would meet and have these conversations, really saying, this guy is like any other guy. Like
Yeah.
Alice Cooper is like one of the nicest people you could ever
That's awesome.
possibly meet. Ronnie James Dio used to
Yep.
be, in Black Sabbath and Rainbow. What a cool guy he was. And he was so smart and eloquent. It was right. I mean, those are the guys that were kind of fun. So so I guess fast forward a number of years, these people like me, they just have notoriety and weird jobs, but they're
Yeah.
basically just
Yeah,
human
that's-
beings. And that's for some people, they can't get beyond that whole fan boy
Right,
thing.
right.
Kind of the way you guys are completely enamored by me right now. Give me another $100. That was goddamn good.
You deserve it. You deserve it. As a fan.
Yeah,
here.
I'll take that. I'll tell you what, man. I am the good thing. Too bad these things are fake because I can walk. I could buy a car by the end of this thing. But it's true though. I mean, those the best interviews are when you actually treat them like human beings. 'Cause
Right.
Then they open up.
Right.
Yep.
Nobody wants to sit there and hear, oh man, you're so fantastic. I got every album you've ever gotten. Like, yeah, okay, well, thank you, but now what am I supposed to say about that?
Yep.
Thank you for putting my kid through college.
Yeah,
That
for sure.
thing. But that's kind of like the defining part is treating them like human beings.
So you found that out by dealing with a bunch of punks, basically? Like, it was just something that kind of clicked in your head one day of like,
Yeah.
if I really want to be successful with successful people, I got to be successful.
Well, yeah. I mean, I have to, in order to get the most out of someone who is successful, I have to treat them not necessarily at their level, but at a human level.
Yeah.
Nice.
Right.
And there have been a couple of times when I've been just, dumbfounded by who I was talking to and, couldn't get beyond it. But then there were some times where I just said, out of hell with it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to have fun with it.
Right.
And that's
That's
The
cool.
reason why we're diving deep into this is
I need to learn. I'm a fucking fanboy, and it's unapologetic. I swear to God, it's crazy. There was this time we were at an open mic, and you know who Joey Diaz is, the comedian.
Sure, yeah.
So his his podcast buddy and one of his best friends, Lee Syatt, came to one of our open mics, and we didn't even recognize him. And he was sitting right in front of me and Damien.
Literally.
Damien goes up on stage, makes fun of him.
Roasted him.
Makes fun of him because he was on Tinder, swiping in Western Mass. And was
Just bang, 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 bang.
making fun of him. And then he, the guy who runs the mic, Buddha Joe, goes, coming up to the stage next, we have Lee Syatt. I look at Damien, I go, what have you done? I was just like...
He loved it though.
Oh, yeah,
he
he
fired
was.
back. We had a great time.
It was,
Of
it was
course.
fun, but after like as soon as he went up on stage, Damien looks at me and he goes, "You better not fucking fanboy," and I was just like, "Dude, I can't help it." And as soon as he came off stage, I was like, "Lee, that was so freaking good, man!" I was just like, "Oh my god," just dapping him up, and I was just like, "Can I get a picture? I need a picture." I was like, stuff like
He's
that.
walking through, and Eric's doing the old like lean down to one knee.
Yep.
Yeah, and it happened again. There's the comedian Shane Gillis, that one of the guys that like produces his podcast, Lemaire Lee, came through to the Nook to do a show with Lee Syatt. And as soon as he walked in the bar, I was just like,
man.
I had to like go like this. I was just like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. 2 drinks later, I'm like, Lemaire, we need a picture. It was just,
Then there's me. I'm on the opposite end.
Yeah.
I went to the reason why I got into stand-up comedy was because I got super early access tickets to Kill Tony at Madison Square Garden.
Oh, okay.
Sold out show. I was one of the first tickets to buy, right on the floor. I've been watching Kill Tony for 8 years now, since before it was like even known about.
Huge.
And I said to myself, well, if I'm going to Kill Tony, I have to put my name in that bucket. And I'm not going to be that guy who's like, this is my first time doing comedy. I won't do it.
Yeah.
It's immediately, Tony doesn't give a fuck about you unless you do some crazy shit.
Right.
So I'm like, I'm not going to be that guy. I have to go do stand-up. And from being in podcasting, I had known some comedians and whatnot, and they brought me out. But I'm completely different. So like at Kill Tony, Madison Square Garden, I'm walking around. I don't know if you know the name, Aaron Belial. He had gone on to America's
MGM.
Got Talent,
Yeah.
MGM. He is a phenomenal comedian. Can't talk, has cerebral palsy. So you got to be really gentle with him.
Yeah.
And I almost walked right by the guy.
Yeah.
I turned, I recognized, I said, "Oh, that's Aaron." And my wife goes, "Go get a picture with him." I was like, he's busy. He's got his bags.
Yep.
He probably needs somebody to help him walk him to his car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, She's like, "Go get a fucking picture." So I walk over. I'm like, "Hey, Aaron, how you doing? Big fan." And I'll show you the photo later, but it's like he was the fan and I was the, you know what I mean? I played it so nonchalant.
Did you
and I
shake
walked
his
away.
claw hand?
Yeah,
That's
and then
crazy.
I walked away and I was like, I thought about it afterwards. I was
Hold
like,
on
man,
a second. Take that back.
I thought about it though afterwards. I was like, man, I should have probably shown that I was actually a fan. You know what I mean? Because I was trying to be so cool about it that maybe I wasn't cool about it. You know what I mean?
But I think at that level, so some of those comics are not household names, and they're literally just guys trying to work, get stage time, try to hone the craft a little bit.
Yeah.
Not all of them would be that inaccessible, and I think sometimes they even appreciate when people come up to them. I think sometimes they're standing around waiting for someone to come up to you.
It's kind of
And
how
they're
he
like,
looked.
How come no one's coming up to me?
Well,
but it is true. I mean, once you treat them on that human level and get past the fanboy thing, that's when real cool things happen.
You could have walked up before you shook his claw arm and be like, "What's shaking, Aaron?" Oh, what?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you a story. So I told you that I had opened up for Kevin Nealon. I'll tell you the story behind that.
Cool.
I for a period of time when I was doing mornings in Milwaukee, I was doing the show alone. My first morning show partner had gotten fired. Called the boss an asshole at the company Christmas party in front of his wife.
Nice.
But maybe like one of the most talented guys I've ever worked with. Anyway, he had gone. There was a period of time where I was working alone, and Kevin Nealon was coming to the Pabst Theater in Milwaukee. So he comes in the studio. It was a good interview, not a great interview, but decent. And we had talked about that. I'd done some opening and stuff like that. He said, "Well, why don't you come to the show and do some time?" And I'm going,
Sweet.
"Get out of here!"
Yep.
So I opened his show,
That's awesome.
and I did
man.
I think like 15 minutes maybe.
Nice.
Maybe about 15.
That's
They gave me-
solid.
Yeah.
They gave me
That's
15. I'm like,
solid.
okay, that's fine.
Heck yeah.
We did 2 shows, and in between those 2 shows, I wound up talking to Kevin Nealon for like an hour and a half in between those shows. And once the second show was done, we talked for another hour and a half.
But
By the end of it, he's giving me his home phone number.
That's
And we're
surreal.
getting, which, by the way, I had in my car, on a piece of, on a address book, and my car was busted into when I lost Kevin Nealon's home phone number. So
damn it.
I interviewed him again. He had no recollection of it whatsoever, so I felt like a total asshole. But during those conversations, the fanboy stuff was gone, and we were literally just talking like just two friends.
Yep.
And he was like the kind of guy that you could have that kind of conversation
awesome.
with. So that was really cool. So it was like, those are the kinds of moments where you say, put the fanboy stuff aside.
Right.
Have a decent conversation. Be surprised what you learn from the guy. And I learned a lot from the guy.
I'm learning. I'm
was,
learning.
was there like a specific like radio broadcast that you did early on where you like decided to yourself, this is what I'm gonna do? Maybe did you get like somebody called in and was like, I like this guy. Like, what was it specifically for you?
I kind of had that's a tough question because there's a lot of different little things that I would say led up to it. The first radio station that I worked for, I was told you did phone surveys, and the guy that was running that department was working overnight, so he was on the air from midnight to 6. And obviously I had a sense of humor. I was busting his balls constantly, and he said, "You should come on the show. We'll do bits together." I was like, "Okay." Well, so we started doing bits. And I was doing character bits. I can't remember what the hell I was doing, but I was doing characters. Calling up the show from the next room, or pretending to be the cleaning lady, or any weird shit. And we had all that stuff on tape. We kept it. And he left the radio station, but I kept the tape. Fast forward in the future, there was a program director that started. I gave him the tape. I said, just listen to this. Tell me what you think.
Right.
And he said, okay. And he comes and gets me the following day. He said, listen to your tape. He said, the morning show we have here right now sucks. I would like to hire you to do mornings. No, I'm still in college. So my reaction was, well, I got to ask my mom and dad.
Oh, geez.
Right.
So I thought, all right, well, I'm about to go on Christmas break. I'll go on Christmas break. And halfway through Christmas break, he calls me and said, hey, I'm leaving the radio station. I'm going to become the program director of WAQY in Springfield, Massachusetts. He said, call me when you graduate from school. I'm like, okay. That was like the first moment where I said, all right, well, then maybe this is something I could do.
Yeah.
Fast forward again, there's another program director about a year and a half or two later, and he has the same reaction to the tape. He said, my morning show sucks, and I got to get you on the air. And so he put me on the air doing bits with the afternoon guy.
Ooh.
Who wound up being my first morning show partner. It was almost like an audition. But for a good 9 months, me and this guy, Dan, were doing bits that were absolutely amazing. Dan was,
How do you come up with those kind of bits for radio?
Like, I mean,
know what
you
Like,
gotta fit like BAXIES View from the Couch. You're gonna make a new one of those like every freaking day.
I make 2 of them every day.
2 of them.
2 of them.
That's
yeah.
insane.
I've been doing
That's a
that
lot of
since
work.
1989.
That's a lot of freaking work.
Yeah. But it's like,
do you think Peter Griffin stole from you, bro? Like, what grinds my gears is like kind of similar.
That's true.
No, I don't. I don't think so.
No, I think McFarlane was a fan, brother.
I don't know. I don't know. But at one point when I was in Milwaukee, once I left that first station, I wound up working for the company I'm at now. Worked for the radio station was called WKLH, and I was basically doing sports at that radio station. And that was all I was doing for a while. And this is kind of a weird. It didn't work out, but this did actually happen. There was a guy in the audience whose brother worked for NBC, who was in charge of program development.
Oh, big game head, right?
And
there.
he was a big fanboy of the show and loved what I was doing. And next thing I know, the guy I'm working for says, come into the office for a second. I said, what? He said, I just got a phone call from this guy. What's his name? Again, it's like more than 35 years ago.
Yep.
He said, there's a guy from NBC that wants you to send writing samples to him. And I'm like,
Pretty freaking cool.
okay. So I did. I finally typed up some of the notes that I had been writing because it was basically the view from the couch. I didn't call it that until I actually came here because I thought it needed some sort of framing, some sort of name to it. And I sent it. And the guy sent me a very nice letter. He said, thank you so much for your samples. They're really, really good. Unfortunately, right now we don't have anything available, but I'm keeping you on file for the future, and we'll definitely be in touch.
Sweet.
Well, that guy got fired from his job
fuck.
too, so that never really worked out. But it was like, again, you want to talk about moments where you think, okay, well, maybe I can do that.
Right.
That's kind of where that said, okay,
NBC's
maybe
looking at you.
NBC's
You got
looking at me,
something.
right?
Cool.
Maybe I got something.
Yeah.
Pretty freaking cool.
Like for me, like my moment was like, there's this man, Spencer Medberry, super fan, we are super fans of his. He loves what we're doing. He does, he's the Whose Line guy. Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah.
It's like a YouTube.
Yeah, it was a super big YouTube thing. YouTube made a major mistake, thought that he was copywriting. They removed his channel. He had to start all over. He works hand in hand with the Whose Line Is It Anyway production team and all that. They make music for the show and everything. Anyway, I somehow he found out about me. I said, well, if I'm going to come and do it, Eric has to come with me. And we have been great friends ever since. We've been doing Whose Line Is It Anyway, where he's trying to set it up with us so that we can actually go to the actual what is it? Who does it? ABC? Who does Whose Line now?
Clue.
I can't
I have no
remember.
clue. I haven't
I
seen
can't
it.
remember.
You out of New York?
Yeah, out of New York.
Oh, cool.
Right. Yeah, so he's working on getting us in there with Colin. Who's the other guy? He says, I'm Colin and you're
Ryan.
Ryan.
Even though it should be reversed, I'm so short. It's
yeah.
insane.
But that's so much fun. Like for me, when I look over and I'm just being silly, and this guy is fucking cackling, who has worked with some of the funniest people ever.
Yep.
And literally looks at me and is like, you remind me of Colin. I'm like, I'm here.
What a great
I'm
compliment.
fucking here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my first shows I did down the street. There's JJ's Tavern, and they have this upstairs, and it holds about like 80, 90 people, and we sold it out. And a couple of Boston comics put me on because I was a local comic and it was opening. This guy, Dan Bolger. He's been on Comedy Central. He's like good friends with the comedian Joe List.
Yeah,
And
I think I know who he is. Yeah.
and I got off stage, and he goes, "How long have you been doing this?" I was like, 6 months. He was like, "Dude, keep going." And I was just like, and I was just coming from him, and he went up on stage after me. The mic cut out, so he had to go a cappella.
I remember
And
you
he was
telling me.
yelling over this crowd and absolutely killing without a microphone. And I was just like, that feels good. I was like, that guy's been doing it a freaking while. And I was just
man.
like, it just feels good to just, I don't know, what's it like, get your comeuppance. You know what I mean? Like you put all the work into things, and it feels good to get it back.
It's seeing it come back, the reciprocation of the hard work.
And even with
right?
the podcast, where it's just like we started with our first episode was with our good friend. He's a made man in here, Louis Santos. He got basically
very funny comedian.
basically he introduced me to Damien because he brought him to the open mic. And if Louis was never around or knew me, this wouldn't happen.
If you look at that poster to your right, he's in the top left corner.
Yeah. That guy right there.
Yes, sir.
With the
Louis Santos.
handlebar
Nice.
mustache.
Okay.
Yeah.
Remember the
Louis
face.
Santos, Bat Boy,
Yep.
Pops Therian.
Ooh,
yeah.
Pops?
Pops.
Yeah.
You were going by Pops?
No. That's the guy in the middle.
Fuck.
That's the old guy.
That's the old
Okay.
guy up top.
All right. Okay, that's cool.
We're not related at all.
Yeah.
He's,
All right.
No,
he's
it's
hilarious.
fun.
But
Yeah, he's a good guy. But yeah, we're just like all these local comics around here. It's just there's so much talent.
Yeah, man.
And it
Well, that's just the thing. It's like, there for a longest time there wasn't really a scene,
No.
and then all of a sudden, people started to use rooms and start making things out
the
of
loft.
the
The loft
loft
was great.
exactly right. I mean, that
Bishop's
perfectly.
Lounge.
Yep.
Yep.
That's
I remember.
that's one of them.
We all have the same.
I remember.
love.
I remember going to open mics with my friend Preacher Moss, and the two of us were just, we'd go, and with little expectation, and we were always introduced to mispronouncing names,
Yeah.
but we got a lot of great time out of that. I remember there was one room. It was just absolutely awful. It was like one of those bars that's just not prepared for a comedy show at all. Then nobody there really gives a shit. And it's like it was in a loft of this bar, and it probably didn't seat much more than like 70 people, maybe 60 people, probably more like it.
Great room.
No, it wasn't, and I'll tell you why. Because the stage,
big and empty.
The stage was a pool table with a piece of plywood on top.
What?
Yes.
Like a billiards table, dude.
Yes.
Slate.
So, slate with plywood on top.
Holy shit.
Now, the pool table was pushed all the way back to this railing. This and then there was like a 20-foot drop to the bottom floor. So there was nothing behind you but maybe death. And it was absolutely the most frightening
That's
thing ever.
terrifying.
Don't move the mic.
Yeah,
Don't move.
Because
hold on to the mic.
Well, the worst part about it is, there was no staging to get up to the pool table. You had to climb on the pool table.
Not even milk cartons.
Nothing. Nothing. Not a chair, not a stool,
Not
nothing.
a cinder block
Can
stairwell.
you imagine the struggle I would have had? I'm so sure I would have had to jump and.
Well, I'm not a tall guy either. I'm not exactly the most limber fella. Yeah, I'm not exactly what I would call athletic. So for me, it's like I'm practically humping the table to get on top of it, and then I got to get down.
Yeah. Oh man, getting down sucks.
Dude, tell him about the time you were plowing at the school.
Oh yeah, so I run this joke and I start the joke off. I'm always a man with. I don't look it, but I'm always a man with a plan. And so I go. I work for a school district, and so I was out plowing, salt and sanding. We had a snowstorm, but the one thing I didn't plan for was having to take a shit in a preschool toilet. Yeah, and so I look at the crowd and I go, I bet you're thinking a crazy story coming out of this. Like a kid walked in on me, I got stuck, or I made a mess or something. No, the craziest thing was my fucking feet didn't still touch the ground, and I started dangling my feet off the stool. Yeah,
They still didn't fucking touch
Yeah,
the ground.
yeah.
Dude, I love that.
the first time I did it, I didn't tell anyone I was doing the joke.
Yep.
And I got up on stage and I sat on the stool. I never sit. I
Right up
pace.
front in the
I
beginning
pace.
of the set.
I pace like a motherfucker. So it's just like I'm all over the stage usually, and so people saw me sit down. They're like, "Is Eric okay? Like he seems really serious. Like what's happening here?" And I sat down just like that. I was just talking to the crowd, and I was just like, I leaned back and I started kicking my feet, and I saw Buddha Joe, who runs the mic, cackle, and I go, "That's all I need."
That's it.
I mean, I got the whole crowd, but it was just like just seeing him hear the new stuff because it's
That's
just
great.
like he's heard all my jokes.
Oh yeah,
everyone.
man.
Yeah, it's
Buddha
great.
Joe is the.
It's
man.
good when you get someone that you respect, who's seeing that you're trying, that it's coming across, and then they give you a little bit of feedback. Man, that holds you for the longest time.
This is a perfect segue into my next question for you. It says, did you have mentors and
Radio
who
comedy.
were the mentors for you?
So, my first morning show partner Dan was a big mentor. I learned a lot from him. He was 20 years older than I am.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was like kind of like
How we
kinda
feel
like
right now.
Kind of like working with your dad. Yeah, that's right. All right, okay, you got that. I'll give you back up a
Let's
little bit of cash. He was certainly one. I would say my friend Preacher Moss was definitely one, because I don't think without him I would have ever started writing anything down. He was really encouraging, and again, we did a lot of stuff together. We went to Chicago. We did a couple comedy competitions that we both lost, brutally. But he was one. There's a couple others. There's a guy who actually lives in the area, but he runs the Talkers magazine.
Okay.
This guy named Michael Harrison.
Okay.
He is like he is one of the more important figures in talk radio, and he runs this publication out of Longmeadow, and he has a convention that I go to in New York every year, and he and I become very close friends over the years. And he's been very much a mentor to me.
Awesome.
So yeah, there have been a number of them over the years.
What do you think has been like the greatest piece of advice that you've received in your history?
I think the greatest the greatest piece of advice I probably ever got, and this is going to seem crazy. I was told you never want to be completely happy with your contract.
Okay. Yeah, fight for more money.
And at the
man.
time, I thought, well, that's the stupidest freaking thing I ever heard. But then, many years later, I'm like, you know what? He's right.
Give me
It's
some
the
actually
moment-
very similar to some advice that has stuck with me was don't marry unless it's for money.
Well, if you marry for money, you've earned it. I mean, that's good, hard-earned money. But the contract thing was true because it's like the moment you're thoroughly satisfied with the contract, there's someone who's paying for it who isn't, and they will hold that over you forever. So that was a good hard lesson to learn.
No, I actually just learned. So I do work at a school district. I just learned all the lunch ladies make more money than me.
No way. Well, yeah,
$2 more.
They're supporting
Food service.
They're supporting the diet to the children.
I would make so many bag lunches. I would eat so many bag lunches. I would just do it for money.
You look great in a hairnet, by the way. You really would. All right, I'll take that back.
Is that because you look great in a hairnet?
No, but I'm hot in a smock, man.
Hot in a smock.
Hot in a smock.
Yeah.
All right.
Hell yeah, he's
All
earning
right.
them.
Bitch is getting my money.
Yeah. Hot in a smock. That's good.
That might be the first time you've cussed.
No,
He's been
Have
ripping.
you?
I've
He's
been-
been ripping.
Oh yeah, I'm
Oh,
just
yeah.
used to hearing him. It took Steve like 2 hours.
Yeah, no.
He didn't swear at all?
No, he did.
No, he did after a
He
while.
ripped.
But he was like, "Man, I'm so used to filtering that out of me when these are on."
Well, let me tell you
And he-
something. I've seen enough of the episodes of the podcast where the first things out of your mouth is, it's time for the motherfucking podcast. I'm thinking, I think I can hang with these fellas.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
there we
yeah,
go,
I think I
there
can
we
do
go.
that.
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah,
hell yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that's hot in a smock is still in my brain.
Hot in a smock.
I can't get it. Hot in a smock. That's like a comedy special you should do.
Yeah.
hot in a smock.
Hot in a smock. Well, I paint pictures with words. That's all I do.
Yeah,
All I do all day.
I hope to hear that tomorrow in the
I will
on the couch.
likely forget it. But that's not because it's not a good line. It's just because I'm an old man and I don't remember shit anymore.
Right.
You
So.
probably do you have to like go back and listen to make sure you're not repeating yourself sometimes, or is that okay?
You know
to
what?
repeat.
It's impossible to be broadcasting anywhere for 30 years and not repeat
Yeah.
the living
Right.
shit out of stuff all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
The thing you have to keep in mind is when people listen to the radio, they're not necessarily hanging on every single word. So
Yeah.
they
Right.
may not hear something you may have done. And audiences change from every 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Most people, when they listen to the radio, they're
On the way to work,
on
at
the way to work, maybe no more than 15, 20, 30 minutes in their
Yeah.
car, and that's it.
Yeah.
So what they may have heard at 6 o'clock, the person listening at 8 hasn't heard that yet.
Yeah.
Right.
So a lot of radio shows will do the same bit
Yeah.
twice in a day.
Yeah.
I like to give it at least a good 17, 18 years before I repeat it.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
There you go.
But I guarantee you, if it's good, I'm repeating it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hot in a smock, make it come back.
I think that one deserves to be put into place. That's good. That was good.
Well, when you agreed to do the podcast, you guys were running that bit that day, penis coladas.
Oh, yeah.
And I that's why I hit Bax up. I was like, "You want me to make some coladas?" And he goes, "No, thanks." He was like,
Because my guess is the motivation for that, there may be a garnish I'm not really prepared for. That ain't exactly a paper umbrella. Just dipping in that thing.
"Yeah, that's crazy."
How do you? All right, let's keep it going with some questions.
Sure.
So,
I got one.
You do?
Yeah.
Ask
Okay. So
away.
if you could go back in time and talk to young Baxie, what would you give him for advice?
But you only got 60 seconds.
No. But like, if you could just your younger self, and not like like steak making or anything like that, but just
I think there would have spent. I probably would have spent more time doing comedy if I could have.
Yeah.
And there were other opportunities to do more with it.
Yeah.
But I didn't. And I also one of the things that this is something I'm not really happy about. But I find now that when I was doing comedy at the time, I was too focused on almost like reading from following a script as opposed to just doing it extemporaneously without any. Because I'm better improvisationally than I am on a script. But when you're learning stand up, when you're learning that, oftentimes you need that. And I didn't write enough at the time.
Yeah.
Like now, The View from the Couch is basically 2 monologues a day,
Yep.
3 minutes apiece, and I write 2 every day. So, that 10,000 hours thing has been done over and over again.
sure.
And I wish that I had, been able to apply what I know now with writing when I was like 19, 20 years old.
Right.
And at the time, I didn't think, well, I don't. I keep getting F's on term papers. I
Yeah.
clearly don't know what I'm doing when I'm writing stuff. But the fact of the matter is, I only do well with the stuff I care about,
Yeah, for sure.
as opposed to stuff I don't care about.
Yep.
But
Of course.
I wish that I had more of a discipline to have gotten off the page,
Yep.
and because I don't think I don't think I ever really truly found my voice
Yep.
in that yet. I was probably a couple years away from being able to do that. But it would have taken some sort of seismic change
Yeah.
in my attitude and approach to make that happen. So I think if I were going to go back, that would probably be it. I know I went over 60 seconds, and I'm
No.
sorry.
No,
I'll give you the
I-
money back. If
No,
I,
no,
yeah,
no.
He was
okay,
talking
all
about
right.
you only have 60 seconds to talk to your younger self.
Yeah, yeah. If there was a minute, yeah.
Okay, that's
No,
different.
but
No, that's
yeah. So he's like he was talking about with the improv with Whose Line? I've noticed that it's just Damien is really good off the cuff. I am the opposite. I need to have my set.
Well, I didn't want to say anything.
Yeah. I need to plan. I need to plan. I need something on a paper. I need to look at it, and it's just like I'll look through my old joke book, pull a joke out, write that for that set. But it would be add new tags, and it's just like now it's.
But you know what? I
I'd
mean,
like to move into it.
I think if you attempted to try
Yeah.
to do it that way and expected to fail,
Yeah.
which you should.
Yeah.
You should definitely, especially the way I've seen you operate now.
Yes.
Okay, I'll take that right over there. No,
Fucking
no, no,
dickhead.
no. All right, you can take that back. But you know what? I mean, that would
back so fucking dickhead.
and I accepted it. That's the best part about it. I took it like a man.
That's
God.
awesome.
But I bet that as an exercise to take yourself off the page,
Yeah.
and work a joke out on stage,
Yeah.
as opposed to I've written 4 or 5 tags in the bus.
Yeah.
How about writing 4 or 5 tags while you're actually doing it?
Yeah.
Man, that's a whole lot more powerful. And
sure.
actually, that's a better, ultimately, that's a better skill set to be able to kind of manipulate material as you're doing it.
Yeah.
I think it makes the material stronger.
that?
I agree.
Bax says I'm better.
No, I'm not saying. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying. I'm just saying that if that's the way you're doing it,
Yep.
imagine what you might be able to do if you took the fear
Yeah.
of eating a bag of dicks on
Yeah.
stage. If you took that away and then worked on it in the moment,
Yeah.
you're going to wind up coming up with something even stronger because your brain is operating in that way.
For sure.
And it's more working on like a muscle. It's kind of like like an athlete or a singer or a
Yeah.
guitar player. The more
Yeah.
you do it in the moment, the better off you wind
Yeah.
up being.
Do you play any instruments?
I play drums badly.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
I'm a drummer too.
Shut up. Get the
Yeah.
hell out of here.
Yeah.
What do you got?
My set.
Yeah.
I have a Mapex.
Ooh.
So it's triple layered. It was made back in the 80s. Cedar, mahogany, and oak.
Mm-hmm.
Solid. So it's not wrapped. It's a solid paint job.
Yep.
6-piece kit. I got about 5 different cymbals around it. And I actually don't have it assembled right now because I did a show November 30th. You probably haven't heard about this yet. It might come out, though.
Fuck.
So a woman showed up to this show already drunk. It was a show put on by John Wash, friend of the pod, great musical artist. Check him out for your pod if you like. He's a very cool kid. Anyway, he puts on this show, about 15 artists. Some stuff was going on with the venue. We ended up being like an hour and a half late in the show. So I was supposed to play at 11:30, and we're the headliner set. We weren't going to be on till like 1.
Yeah.
And there was this woman in the crowd who was like revving up like a bull, like she was about to fuck up my drum set. And she actually said that. So I'm at the bar talking with this guy, and all of a sudden I hear my drums getting smashed.
Oh, Jesus.
So I run up to the stage. There's a woman like just smashing my shit. Stop. The show stopped. We're asking the venue to come to do something. She wouldn't. She takes my drumstick, stabs it through the head of my snare, throws it at my face, hit me right here, cut my cheek, and then I look, nobody was doing anything, so I grabbed her and
Took her away from your drum set.
took her away from my drum set.
Playing Moby Dick for real.
And that's a good one. I didn't get in any trouble. Obviously, I was defending myself and my property.
Yeah.
She assaulted me multiple times
Yeah.
before I had to do anything. No, it was a failure on the venue, 100%.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say which venue, but
But they know who you're talking about.
they know.
They know.
Oh yeah. So why did we bring that? Oh, my drum set.
Drum
Drum
yeah,
set,
he's got
yeah,
a sweet
right.
drum set.
Yeah, a couple of my stands got tilted and
Oh,
bent.
yeah.
They don't retract or come
What
out.
was it, a 1 in 500, you said?
Yeah, the kit is a 1 in 500. They only made 500 in that style with that wood
And
that year.
the replacement of that kind of stuff, even hardware or stands, it's outrageous, especially good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got a PDP, which is like the
Ooh,
drum
yeah.
warehouse, knockoff. their
They're
budget.
They're still good though.
They're still good. I've had it for a number of years. I had a kid as a kid. It was an old a Slingerland Radio Star Blue Sparkle. It was like a jazz set.
Yeah.
And I
Flat one tom.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And I mongreled the thing out. I got
Ooh.
got another bass, a little Rogers. So all of a sudden I'm playing double bass, and like everybody in the neighborhood hated my fucking guts.
I love
And
it.
but then I sold that drum set to buy textbooks in college. The biggest mistake of my life. Should have never have done that. But many years later, I got another kit added on to it, and I mean, I'm a basement player.
Yep.
I've only played a handful of times out, only a handful of times with people, and that's all I want. That's all I want.
Man,
And
to think, you
I
could have
just-
been playing with like Dream Theater or something,
Yeah, in fact, I was the second call after Mangini turned it down the first time. I said, "Oh, Mike, I think you're better off. Why don't you take the job, and I'll just sit back here in Springfield and
Yeah.
pretend that didn't happen."
Now they're stuck with fucking Dave Portnoy.
oh, that guy blows.
Come on, fucking
Goddamn Portnoy. One bite, you know the rule.
One of my favorite channels of everything on YouTube is Drumeo.
Oh my
The
God,
Drumeo channel. I mean, and now that they do like all these challenges and stuff with all these amazing drummers, it's just the best content because you get to see these people really fucking struggle, but when you only ever see them be just the top of the freaking class.
It's funny because I watch drum videos all the time when I'm bored, got nothing else to do. It's like, oh, dude, that guy's the greatest. John Bonham's the greatest drummer ever. Like, well, yeah,
Put him on a Tool song.
but
Yeah.
Have him play a Tool song and watch how
Right.
fast he
Try
fucking
schism.
fumbles.
But there's a couple of drummers I could watch. I could watch them for hours. Like Jojo Mayer. Do you know who Jojo Mayer is?
It sounds familiar.
Oh, he's I think
Jojo
he's
Mayer.
I think he's Swiss or Swedish.
Yep.
Oh my God, the guy's unbelievable. It's a small drum kit. He's so syncopated. He's brilliant. Absolutely. He looks like he's got a very significant substance abuse issue, but I don't think he does. I just think he hasn't slept because all he's doing is practicing paradiddles all day. But no, he's great. Betty Greb is fantastic.
Yep.
I could watch those guys play forever. I really do.
I have no musical talent.
It's
At
okay. Either do I.
Zero.
But that doesn't mean I don't play it.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I don't pretend to have it.
This guy looks like if Bob Ross didn't put down a crack pipe. Holy
Yeah,
shit.
but you know what? But there's a couple of solos that he does. That's him, man.
Ooh, yeah,
Tell
he-
me that's not Bob Ross.
Yeah, dude.
But
he,
you know-
he,
but-
he looks like he's messing around a lot.
But he's a big sonar guy, like Steve Smith from Journey, who was another one of those unbelievably underrated drummers.
Oh.
But JoJo's fantastic. He's
Yeah, he looks like a cool drummer.
He looks like Ari Shafir wearing a wig.
yeah, he kind of does. He kind of does.
Too bad he didn't play for Judas Priest.
Oh, I see what you're doing there.
Yeah.
That's a twist on words.
That means two things.
Yeah, I'm sure the Anti-Defamation League will be happy to call you later on today.
Don't worry.
Oh, the judicial system.
I'll send the check to Jupiter.
All right, you two. Enough.
We're getting off the rails.
all right.
All right, next question.
Here we go. You want to go?
Oh, with a question. How do you handle
I don't.
social issues like on the radio? Like do you get I'm sure you guys say something every now and then that maybe a group of people don't like, and I'm sure they'll call in and make complaints and leave comments. And how do you handle that? Do you read that kind of shit? Do you even pay attention?
Oh yeah, no, I hear all the complaints, and and that's fine. Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it's annoying. Sometimes when people are complaining about things that they misheard, or things that are just simply like you just say, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Where did you grab that out of? I mean, it's part of the job. I mean,
Right.
it really is. But ultimately the answer is, well, if you don't like it, don't listen. There's other places for you to go, and I got a couple on the top of my head I'd like to send you. But Steve and I, we don't do a lot of political
Right.
commentary
Yeah.
because it's just like
Divisive.
well, it's
But not
divisive,
even-
and there's other places to go. I mean, no
Yeah.
one's listening to Rock 102 for real political talk or serious discussion. They're going to hear two middle-aged men do fart and dick jokes all
Yep.
day.
Yeah.
But it's true. I mean, I think people listen because they want to be entertained, not necessarily because they want to be inflamed by a political discussion that they may or
Right.
may not agree with.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's other places for you to go. But
Right.
it's funny because like there are some people because I'm probably like the more middle of the road than people might even think I am. But we still get complaints. I was like a complaint from one guy who thinks I'm like this big MAGA hat wearing Trump guy, and I'm like, no, I'm really not. The only reason he thinks that way, I told you, I go to this Talkers magazine convention once a year. I'm standing there with Sean Hannity from Fox News,
Okay.
and someone takes our picture. Now he's when he's not talking about politics, Sean Hannity's actually a pretty pleasant fella.
Yeah.
But so I posted that. I was like, hey, look, it's me, John O'Brien, and Sean Hannity, and this guy, by association,
Yeah.
assumes that all of a sudden I'm a red state guy, and it's like
Just
not
because
really.
of a photo.
Yeah.
Not because of a
And
photo.
and that's another thing is like the disconnect between the average listener or viewer and like idolizing these people. Kind of back to what you were saying earlier. It's like you got to just treat them like normal people. Like if that commenter, if they were there
Yeah.
in your shoes, they
Yeah.
would have taken that picture.
Saw how
You know
normal
what I
he
mean?
was.
Of course,
Whereas-
yeah, because
yeah.
it's a
of course.
normal guy.
Yeah.
It's like the problem with the internet is like spreading all this hate and shit. These echo chambers. It's all just people being, I think I have this opinion, and then next thing you know, that opinion gets, what's the word? Multiplied, gratified
It
by
mutates.
other people.
Well,
yeah.
It's
It
also
mutates.
like a fucked up game of like telephone. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh, it totally
Where,
is.
where it's just like you say what you feel, somebody hears it, and they're like they mess up one word.
We've had complaints at the radio station for things that actually happened on other radio stations.
Really?
Like
That's
they
funny.
attributed something stupid to us,
That's fine.
even though it happened at one of our competitors. I mean, it's hilarious. Like, well, you guys were supposed to give away a car today, and that wasn't us.
No, that was
Yeah.
101.2.
Right. But it happens. I mean, people they listen, but it's not always with the most amount of hard attention.
Right.
They also often don't know really what they're listening to.
Unless you've been me for the past month.
Right.
We've been studying.
Oh, have you really?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
No, well, I mean, I usually listen to it every day. Anyways, it's the only set station I have in my truck. My truck at work, my truck outside, everything like that. Just rock 102. Well, it's just habit. It's just how I grew up. Like I said, and it's just like I gotta listen.
Yeah,
I
and
gotta
for
listen.
me, being on a job site 6 a.m. every morning, it's being broadcasted through the whole building.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Everybody has their fucking job site speaker, and it's all on the same channel. You might have, you might have a group of illegals that are just listening to music. You know what I mean? But like in between that, you keep walking 35 yards because there's always is the loudest.
Yeah.
You'll find Bax and Nagel.
Well, I don't. I'm very grateful for that. I don't take it for granted at all. I mean, this could evaporate very very quickly. All I have to do is go on a couple more podcasts like yours, and that's it. But it's true, and I've always tried to keep it into a reasonable perspective. I'm on the radio, but that and $1 gets you on a bus.
Yeah.
I mean, that's if you live this close to the Vermont border, you really shouldn't have much of an ego. I mean, you really shouldn't.
Oh, that's gold.
That's
New England.
I'll take
Gotta
that.
love
I
New
like
England.
trashing Vermont a little bit. That's
funny.
fine.
Our
But-
buddy Barry Pinsky's gonna love that. He's a wood carver.
He's everything.
Super talented.
He's like one of the best artists that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Everything's hand carved, chainsaw out of wood.
Do you ever see the Grizzlies wrestling in Amherst or out of Agawam? I'm sorry. Agawam.
Yeah.
So recently they got a new facility. There's a massive hand carved bear.
Okay.
It's a grizzly bear. Our buddy Barry Pinsky made that for
Oh,
them.
very cool.
Yeah, he made that plaque for us.
Yeah.
Nice.
Super awesome guy.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
we got to get him on here. It was like we have musical guests, we have comics, we have radio hosts like yourself. We had one person from Western Mass News on here.
Yeah.
Oh,
And-
yeah.
Addie Patterson.
Addie Patterson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she just had her first anchoring gig.
Oh, very cool.
Yep. So
So
congratulations.
you're gonna have a guy who's gonna whittle some sticks or some
Yeah.
logs here.
He
That,
does.
you know
He
what?
does comedy too. He made himself his own comedy stage. in
I'll
his
tell you
house.
what. If you could do stand up with
With
a
a
bunch of punked out wood
Yep.
and a chainsaw, that would crush.
Hell yeah.
That would
Hell
kill.
yeah.
That would murder
Everywhere.
the room every time.
Everywhere, especially in New York City.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be someone who's going to say another prop comic, but
Yep.
you know what? Guy's got a fucking chainsaw.
You better
You better
You
laugh.
better laugh.
You
God
better
damn it.
Oh man, that just made me think of that guy. So was that last Thursday
Who?
when we went to the Nook?
Yep.
And I was doing my set. I'm trying to run some new stuff.
yeah.
I'm not gonna run it right now, but I'm running some new stuff, kind of edgy, right?
Okay.
And this guy, out of fucking nowhere, crowd's laughing. I'm settling for the crowd to come down, and all you hear is, "It's gonna be real funny. We ain't got no fucking teeth."
And the room got serious for a second.
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Whoa, we got ourselves a tough guy."
Yep.
Like I got real down south on him.
He
man.
told like a very high IQ intelligent joke.
Yeah.
And nobody really got it. And so Damien took a step back and goes, "Oh." He went back into his southern accent. He goes, "Well, let me dumb it down for y'all." And he goes, "I come from Ohio."
I got 4 kids with 3
Yep.
baby
Yep.
mamas.
Yeah, it's so funny.
My mom's therapy dog killed itself.
Oh my God.
And that's where we differ again. See, he can change gears and make the audience laugh, but still degrade them. If I got a boo one time, I've said it before on the podcast. I have this thing that I call my villain era, and it makes me switch. Like I turn villain immediately. And so I told this joke, and it was a joke about the guy running the mic, Buddha Joe. He's a veteran,
Right.
And so I walk up on stage.
Real
I was
good
like,
friend
hey,
of ours.
I said, "Hey, Buddha Joe." I was like, "Thank you for your service, man. But I do have to ask you, how long did you serve under Colonel Sanders? Because he's a bigger set guy." Nobody laughed in the crowd. This one kid in front of me just goes, "Boo!" And I looked at him and I was just like, "Fuck you," through the mic. And I look up and I see Damien just go.
Wrong guy.
In the back, I'm like,
Well, no, he was just like, "Don't be mean." He was like, "Just go back into your set." So I dialed it back and I went back
Yeah.
into it. But I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I'm working on it.
It was a couple of years ago. We were doing a Rock 102 work release party at some bar in West Springfield, and and someone told me, "Hey, could you make an announcement? Some guy's car is illegally parked,
Yep.
and here's the plate number. Could you just announce it? Maybe they could move their car." So I went up on the mic on stage. I did 15 minutes about the asshole that put his car in an emergency lane, and I was hammering and hammering and hammering, and it was like one of those things. I mean, completely off the top of my head, and the crowd is laughing their asses off, and I'm punching it, I'm going all. It was the owner's car. I'm like, oh Jesus Christ! I'm so sorry.
Well, if he can't handle a joke, maybe he shouldn't be hosting.
Well,
the
I know.
comics,
That,
you
that
know?
was just the thing. It's like if someone from the road crew says, "Oh yeah, this guy's illegally parked." It's the owner. He can
Yeah.
park wherever the hell he wants.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of I regretted that a little bit,
Yeah,
especially
a little
since I still charged him an appearance fee to be there.
There you go.
I got a few bucks out of the guy.
Just to get into our next question for you, I'm gonna answer this question first. So my most embarrassing moment in entertainment.
Yes.
I'm doing a show for a bunch of Shriners. Okay, about 125 of them, and we weren't expecting when we got asked to do the show, it was for Freemasons,
Okay.
men, dirty old men,
Sure.
is what we were told. Okay, I'm ready. I'm there. I'm your guy. We get there. All their wives are there too.
Ah,
Yay.
yes.
So I'm trying to spin in my head on like, how can I, make this funny and get them on my side? So I get up on stage and I say, I wasn't expecting what we're here for tonight. So in order to prepare, I went on Google and I started researching, Freemasons, Shriners. But all that kept coming up was like conspiracy stuff. Like I look around, I'm like, I don't see any Jews here.
And that went over just how you thought.
Yeah.
I
right,
was
yeah.
ignorant. That was my most embarrassing moment. I still find it funny, but
I doubled down and I walked up on stage because when I was pulling up to the venue, the Clarion Hotel in West Springfield, I asked the guy who was, I'm saying it. I'm saying it. So I asked the guy who was putting on the show, the booker, and he was he was the host. And I was just like, hey, Johnny, where am I going? And he goes, when you get to the hotel, take a right and look for all the white people in funny hats. So I went up on stage and I go, Johnny told me to look for all the white people wearing funny hats, but they're not nearly as white and pointy as I was expecting. And then
to the Shriners, man. To the Shriners.
So I need to learn to read a room too. So, but
Yeah.
so
yeah.
there was a table of old people to the right of me, and I got two groans, and just two old ladies looked at me and just go, boo. And I was just like, fuck. I was just like, all right, pivot.
At least I could say
Then I
haven't
sat
been-
down on the stool and did my little leg dangling to get them back. I was just like, oh, no, look, I can make fun of myself too.
I remember this goes back to when I was doing stand up. We were doing a show. It was at like a VA hospital or it was like an outdoor show. They had all these guys at the VA, outside of a tent, and they did a comedy show. It was like in the middle of the afternoon. They were doing a big big raffle for whatever. And the guy that was running the show, this is like one of these moments where I just wanted to get in my car and drive away. He's getting ready to do the raffle. And it's like a big cash prize. It's like like $2,000. A guy in the VA hospital could probably use $2,000. It's all these Vietnam veterans, and they've all been all had a tough go.
Yeah.
And the guy says, "Okay, it's time for the raffles. Everyone just pull out their stubs." I'm like, "What? Are you kidding me?" I stood there like I couldn't talk about not reading the room at all. And I'm like, "You gotta be shitting me." And I just now
Pull out your stubs. That's fucking...
the good news was these guys had a great sense of humor about it. They all laughed,
Fuck yeah.
But it took. It was like one of these delayed reactions. Like they were shocked about it, but as soon as they thought about it, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's kind of funny."
Yeah.
And the guy who did it didn't even realize he said it. He didn't realize it didn't. It just came out. He's
Didn't
like,
register.
I said, "Did you mean to say this? Say what? Pull out your stubs?" He said,
You see a guy in the audience he's like,
"Oh my god, that was insensitive."
we're having fun. We're having fun here.
Yeah, we've actually insulted quite a lot of people
We
here
have.
today. We really have. Yeah.
We've covered a lot of bases.
I told you we'd shut the door in this place. And I
That's
think we're
impossible.
winning.
Yeah, that's it.
It's all in good fun.
Of
you know?
course it is.
Yeah.
We-
So, back to the give me in radio, right?
Yeah.
Was there ever a moment where like you said something and maybe you got like a tap on the shoulder, like, like there's something that you're not allowed to, you know what I mean?
So this goes back to Milwaukee. If you can imagine this, I lived on 20th and Kilbourne Avenue, okay? Now, the reason I'm bringing up the address is 5 blocks away from there was Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment.
Holy shit.
Eighth of a mile. Now, we didn't hang out in the same places. We had different interests. He preferred smaller portions. I mean, it's a lot to consider here. All right, come on. Everybody, pay up. Pay up. There you go. Pay up.
Smaller portions.
The day that they went into his apartment and they're pulling out barrels of human remains. And we're on the air when this is happening. It's on TV, and you know the story is coming across the wire, and it was me, my partner Dan, and this woman who was doing the news. This woman Debbie is just a wonderful person. She's doing the story, and they're saying police are on 25th and Kilbourne. They are pulling barrels of what appears to be human remains out of this guy's apartment.
Jesus.
And my reaction is, oh, man, they just found all my Christmas gifts. That was wrong.
Big fan of dark humor.
Should not have said that. So you fast forward to when I'm now working for the other radio station. Every comic that comes into town wants to talk about Jeffrey Dahmer because like the trial was going on at that point. And, he's in the news, and the comics coming in. Oh, Jeffrey, this is the home of Jeffrey Dahmer. He had a human head and a 6-pack of beer in a fridge. Who eats that way? And like that kind of stuff. And the host of the show was like, oh man, you can't make fun of Jeffrey Dahmer. You can't do that. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's exactly what we should be doing because it's the most bizarre, crazy story in America. It was the best story they had since John Wayne Bobbitt got his penis cut off. But it's true. That's what it was. But at that moment when I said, oh my God, they found my Christmas gifts. Yeah. I was like, was a little regrettable.
Did you get a knock on the door from like the local detectives?
No.
You said? Okay.
No. I got, but the other two people in the room, craned their heads around like, what did you just say? Sorry.
That's a wild story.
Yeah.
So you were on air. Were you on air September 11th, 2001?
Yes.
What was that like?
Holy fuck.
Totally and utterly bizarre.
Yeah.
When we were on the air, the first plane hits, and we're like, well, that's a weird thing. Yeah. And then it progressively gets stranger and stranger. We actually stayed on. Typically, we're off the air at 10. We stayed on the air till like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Got covered.
Stopped music, stopped commercials, and it was just us talking and trying to gather as much information about what was going on as possible. It was completely surreal and scary as hell. That happened. That September 11th happened to be my wedding anniversary with my first wife. So that was actually the second biggest tragedy of September 11th.
I was going to say, no wonder why that bombed.
Thank you very much. I'll take that. I've got a big I got to tell you what, I'm starting off with a bigger stack than you started off with. But yeah, no, that was like one of those really amazing days where you just go, man.
Oh, it had to be one of the most memorable. I mean, the Jeffrey Dahmer and
it was absolutely memorable, but it was like, I just went home and I just like, I couldn't move. Yeah. I was so exhausted from having this intense experience of trying to tell people information about what they're all seeing in real time.
Our nation's being attacked. I remember
without really having any information to really give because at that point it was all so new. We didn't know where this is coming from or really what any of this was yet.
Do you know if any of you said at the time, like, can a plane do that much damage to a building? Because I know there was a lot of Like if you go back and if you look up 9/11 conspiracies now,
Yeah.
like one of the biggest things that these documenters will put together is all the broadcasts from across the nation from that morning,
Yeah.
and the things that people were saying. And one of them that really stuck out was this guy was a mechanical engineer. He had been on the radio for like 15 years or whatever, and he was talking about that steel should not do that. And like he ended up being fired. He lost his job, and like you don't hear anything about that guy anymore. But kind of like in the level of conspiracies, like in that day, did you have those thoughts cross your mind, or was that even a?
I think in the moment, I wasn't thinking in terms of conspiracies or trying to
Right.
explain what just happened. I think what we were trying to do was just report,
Yeah.
keeping opinion really out of it, because we're not engineers. We're not pilots. We're not experts in terrorism.
Yeah.
We're just two dopes on the radio who are informing people of what's going on.
Yeah.
Similar things had happened like that, like when the Oklahoma City bombing
Oh,
happened.
Boston bombing.
A perfectly good
Miracle.
example.
Yeah.
A perfectly good example.
Yeah, that's
Um,
close to home.
It was close to home, but yet we wound up interviewing a lot of people that were there.
Yep.
A woman who was a reporter in Boston, was someone I used to date in high school. We had her on. So I mean, we reflected that. Even like the tornado that happened
Yep.
in 2011.
Yep.
Oh, in East Hampton. The one
Oh,
that
it
hit
was
the
up-
mountain?
came out-
No, the one
Springfield.
that came out of Springfield and went through.
I wasn't here at that time, so
I actually, so that was my prom day.
Yeah.
We got evacuated during a tornado. Who would take kids out of a building when there's a tornado coming up over Mount Tom? You know who? Northampton High School. Shout out.
Good idea.
Yeah, dummies.
That worked out all right. I was on my way home. I don't even remember where I was. I don't know if it was we were out somewhere, and I called my ex-wife, my wife at the time, and I said, everything's okay, nothing's going on, no damage, and she said, nope, didn't hit here. I said,
Thank
okay, I'm going to the radio station. And because at that point, there was nobody live at the
Yeah.
radio station at that moment. I just turned around. I only lived like 2 miles away from work, so I got in the air, and for the next 3 hours, I just took phone calls from people who were living in East Forest Park, whose homes were completely destroyed, or people that couldn't get home because trees were in the way. People who their garage is no longer there.
Yeah.
And there was like East Forest Park, Wilbraham, Munson. I was getting all these phone calls, and that was maybe like one of the most intense broadcasts I ever did. I did it, by myself.
Yeah, that's
I just took one call after another. Again, I'm not offering opinions. I'm not giving analysis. I'm literally reporting and hearing
What's happening?
right what's happening from people in real time. And I think in moments of crisis, that's really probably the best you can do, because the moment you start to interpret the news is the moment that all of a sudden you're basically building conspiracies, whether you realize it or not. And that's in a time of crisis. It's just not it's not the time or the place. There will be time to analyze those kinds of situations, but in the minutes that it's happening, that's not the time to do it.
No.
Yeah, I guess that's like it's something you would definitely have to learn from radio, because podcasting, it's all about your personal opinion.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
it depends on the podcast, but yeah, for the most part, you're right.
Yeah, well, I think for what I'm trying to do, I want people to know what the fuck I think. Like me. For
Yeah.
me.
Well, that's it.
No, it's funny because like as a kid, I mean, you can hear my voice, right? I have a low
From here I
baritone.
can, yeah.
Yeah.
From this distance, sure. Yeah,
We have headphones
So,
on. Never like, hear your fucking voice.
Yeah. Well, I'm
you're right. Without the headphones, it'd just be white noise to me.
That's it.
All right,
Can't have a
I
conversation.
walked into all that. My bad. But so my parents owned a karaoke bar. Music has always been a part of my entire family.
Sure.
And I've always taken it like my voice seriously until I found cigarettes. But yeah, I took it really seriously, and like I remember as a kid, like imagining being a radio host. You know what I mean? Just like what would that feel like, knowing that like people are waiting on you or they're rushing to turn you on to hear what you're gonna say about what's going on.
Yep.
And like I think that's what kind of led me into one day wanting to be in this kind of position. But there's a disconnect between what I'm doing and like what you're doing. A big one is you're live in the moment, as to where I'm talking about something after it's already happened. So like just in my own head, listening to you, my next goal now is to figure out how to bridge that divide. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm always trying to find the next thing for
step.
myself. Like,
Right.
how am I going to keep growing? You know
Well,
what I mean?
I think what you guys are doing is probably the right thing to do, because I think podcasting is a growing, growing entity.
Booming.
Absolutely, and as long as you continue to do it and continue to get better at it, then you will grow theoretically.
Yes.
Radio is very hard to get into, and it's also the kind of business that's having a lot of its own challenges. It's not dying in the same way that people believe it's dying, but it's certainly going through some growing pains, trying to figure out what it wants to be when it grows up.
Aren't we all?
Where do you think it's going to be in 10 years?
Well, I think, I mean, there's a million reasons why it is in the shape that it's in. I think ultimately, what is happening is that you have a couple of operators, a couple of ownership groups that are so mired in debt that they can never ever get beyond. That what it's forced other smaller operators to do, like the company that owns Rock 102. These companies are operating at such a difficult and irresponsible level that it's kind of forced other operators to not emulate what they do, but it's affected how they operate, because those stations, and I'm not going to name names, but I think it might.
What's it rhyme with? I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I don't want to say
Blazer.
but
Glazer.
I fart would be close.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'll take that, because I may need that at some point.
How you get it from me?
I'm giving him another.
I'll take it.
I'm almost out of money, you motherfucker.
Baxie needs a brand new pair of shoes.
You
That's
want to go to the Bank of Air?
Your boy needs a loan.
But I think where it's going is that at some point there will be no things like transmitters. It'll all be online.
Digital.
It will be digital, but I think what you're going to see is that operators will begin to understand, again, that the most important radio in America is local radio.
Yeah.
It is the most valid form of radio. And a lot of these larger operators don't have the resources to make that happen. Some people say, well, they're operating as like an evil empire. No, they don't really have a choice. They've put themselves into this position where they can't afford local talent.
Yeah.
The problem is that your communities rely on local radio.
Yeah.
Sure.
Situation, a perfectly good situation is, when you go back to 2011 and you look at what happened with that tornado, there were radio stations in Springfield where nobody was in that building. Nobody was live. Nobody ever is in that building live. But yet Rock 102 was able to get their morning show guy to voluntarily go in and spend 3 hours talking to people at the worst time of their lives. That's powerful shit.
And you're not
It
going to
really
get like
is.
the live, like what's happening news from a podcast or anything like that. Like podcasts are all freaking planned out. It's shot
not-
ahead of time.
Well, they're
but
not planned out.
They're not necessarily planned out. I mean, there may be frameworks.
Yes.
that there may
there's
be,
a frame. But
but why can't there be live podcasts?
Yeah, true.
I mean, the technology exists that you guys could live stream this thing anytime you damn well felt like it.
We've done it a few times. We've done it a few times over at the Nook in Westfield.
Yeah.
So in the back room, they have where the comedy happens. There's like the Nook of the Nook is what we call it. So it's a VIP seating that we kind of keep closed.
So
and
this is
stuff
where
like that.
podcasting wins, because I don't necessarily have to be listening live to appreciate what's being said by the host.
Right.
True.
Right.
So it's really up to me to decide. But the question is, and this is a challenge for a lot of podcasters. I'm sure you guys are wondering this too. Is like, okay, at what point can I make this profitable,
Yes.
or can I make this a full-time job? There's actually a lot of podcasts out there, but it's only a very small fraction that's making real money.
Yes.
Right.
So I mean, there are opportunities, but it takes time. It takes time and commitment. It's the only way to do it.
Right.
In radio, you have an infrastructure to make money. I mean, that's what it's designed to do. We have salespeople, we have staff members, we got office space, we got all those things that help us operate, as a business.
And it's all timed out too.
Yeah.
So it's just like, oh, time for commercials. Oh, time for commercials.
What what how do you guys know how many people are actually tuned to the station? Is there like a frequency counter? How does that work?
There's a couple ways of doing it. The rating service, Nielsen, has two basic methodologies. Both are terribly flawed, but that's, for the moment, that's really all they have. The old way, which some markets still operate with, is a diary system. So you basically get a diary in the mail and like $2, and you are supposed to fill it out by hand about what radio stations you listen to and when. Well, the problem has always been, people wait until the last possible second before they send it out, and they try to remember what they listened to and for how long. And it's not been a particularly good system.
Yeah, definitely not.
They then developed something called a personal people meter, which is something like you wear like on, I don't know, like on your belt loop or something like that. Almost looks like a pager.
Okay.
Back when pagers were actually a thing. But basically what it does is it picks up radio transmissions so that it knows what you are technically listening to at any one period of time.
Huh.
The problem with that is,
You have a tracking device on you.
well, there's that, but also just because you are, let's say you're getting your car fixed, okay, and the dealer or the mechanic has got a radio station playing in the background, but it ain't the radio station you listen to, but he's playing it.
Yeah.
Well, guess what?
It's
Your people
picking it
meter's
up.
picking that up,
Yeah.
Right.
whether you are actively listening to it or not. They've also had a problem where spoken word radio stations, morning shows, news talk stations, they weren't picking up that signal properly. Now that's been fixed to a degree, but it's still not a perfectly accurate system of attributing, listenership.
It's like a guesstimate.
Right.
Deal. Yeah.
The other problem this has, and this is where podcasting and streaming comes in, is that the rating services don't take into account the people that are listening to radio stations on audio streams or podcasts or radio stations or any other way that you could get or on your phone. It's not attributing any of that. So when people say radio's dying, no, it's not. There's still 280 million people listening to radio every day. They just may not be listening to it on an actual radio. The appliance is now the antiquated piece of equipment.
SoundCloud,
It's
Spotify.
interesting that like people even want to track the viewership of the radio frequency, because if you really think about it, although it's open air, like radio frequency is probably like the most secure, the most secure way of transferring information back and forth.
Yes.
Because it's wide open to everybody. There's no way to manipulate it, really.
Yeah.
Like, the only way you can manipulate a radio station is if you get a signal splicer, and in the middle of their broadcast, you're close enough to their buildings so that your signal splicer can get inside of theirs, and then you start to project out your own frequency inside the middle of their frequency. So really, it all just ends up being it just sounds like shit.
Huh.
And what happens if your radio starts going, you change the channel.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to manipulate radio as to where...
It's hard to manipulate signal, but it's not hard to manipulate audience.
Right.
So there's things that you can do, and there's, back in the old days, in the olden days, I mean, you could do contesting, you could do, different, promotions. You could put a billboard, you could put a TV commercial up. There were
Pranks
things
were really big.
Yeah, there were things that you can do to get an audience engaged.
Yeah.
What was the famous radio broadcast where the War of Worlds?
War of the Worlds.
It was
World-
based off the.
What year was that?
Oh,
It was like in the 1930s
Yeah,
or
it was
something
Early,
like that. Yeah,
yeah. It was like Red Skelton times.
Yeah.
yeah.
I grew up on Red Skelton. Not
Really?
many 30-year-olds you know.
No, I would say
even
none.
know his name.
I know who Red Skelton is,
Of
but that's
course.
because I'm a old fart and understand that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, those kinds of broadcasts really meant stuff because people didn't realize that it was fiction. They thought it was real, and people were going absolutely
aliens are here.
batshit over it.
Fuck.
Yeah, now you're waiting for aliens to show up because some scientist said, well, it's going to happen before the inauguration.
It depends on how close you look, because there's some people who will say if they do show up, that's actually Project Bluebeam, which was created by the CIA in the 60s. and
You're getting the same TikToks I am.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's it.
Same algorithm.
Yep. I hope it's not the same. You're kinky.
Well, listen, what man doesn't like hot and horny housewives like that? Am I wrong?
Stepmoms.
Am I wrong? Well put.
Hot and horny housewives. Hot in a smock. They're hot in smocks.
I love that they keep making these dishwashers or dryers smaller and smaller.
I thought you were talking about the women.
Yeah, they keep making the washers smaller so they get stuck.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
We're not on the same
No,
algorithm.
it's okay. It's all right. It's okay.
You got it.
I think I got it.
I
yeah.
thought you were calling women dishwashers. I'm just kidding. Fuck.
That's crazy.
Oops.
That was crazy.
You can boo. I'll take it.
That's insensitive.
Listen, I'm a really awesome dad, okay? I respect women.
Yeah. You do
Not
it
every day, but I
Not
mean,
every day, right.
it's a lot to ask.
I have this little joke about cuck culture. And like I know the inception of it. I don't want to give it all away, but like I know the inception of it. And as I run through the joke and I explain the inception of cult culture, I finish it off with like, I've never once apologized to my wife. Jesus. Never once.
Shout out Taylor, friend of the pod.
Yeah, there you go. You probably agree with that statement, too.
Probably,
He hasn't yet.
I'll just silence treat her for fucking 2 days.
But on the other hand, he sits on the couch while I get busy. So there you go.
Right, that's right. I'm just sitting here with my headphones on, playing my video games.
Could you keep it down? It's halftime show's about to start.
Babe, everyone in Discord can hear you yelling. Shut up. Trying to hang out with the boys.
But so is she.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. She doesn't get them all the time.
Yeah. What?
The boys.
No.
I keep the boys close.
there you
close by.
That's great.
Man, so I mean, you kind of spearhead. Like would you say that you're like the face of 102? Or is it you
Well,
and
I mean, I
Who else?
guess. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been there the longest.
Yeah,
for sure.
Nobody's got. I mean, there can't be anyone there that has more seniority than you, right?
There was one guy who just retired a couple years ago. This guy Jerry Parrott, who our production director, was an absolute genius.
Yeah.
But yeah, he retired, and then it was like, oh my god, it's now me.
it's you,
Yeah.
man.
But it's it's weird to be kind of the last man standing.
Yeah.
But like I said, I don't take any of it for granted. I mean, it could all end tomorrow, and I just
Nah, you're stout, man. You're gonna be standing a long time.
I do have an app on my phone which counts down the days in which I can
To
retire. So let me see.
What's it at?
Well, let me take a little gander over here. I haven't looked at it today.
I thought for sure you were gonna say you had an app that like tracks your diet.
No, well, I do, but I've never opened it.
And I was gonna say, hey, that's better than Steve's 1 day a week personal trainer. Fire that guy. I'm kidding. I love you, Steve.
I got approximately 2,418 days, 5 hours, 6 minutes, and 18 seconds left to go before I can retire.
Holy wow.
But it's gonna
That last 18 seconds is going to go by so slow.
It's gonna like, oh my god, will this day ever end? Yeah, but at some point, I'm gonna have to just say, you know what, I don't ever want to see 3 a.m. To start my day ever again.
Oh,
I'd much
nothing
rather
worse.
only see it if I have to go to the bathroom or a medical emergency, but not to get to work. At some point, that's gonna have to happen.
So what time do you walk into the doors during the morning?
I am usually in the door just after 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And my morning is very
Walk us through it.
regimented.
Yeah, walk us through it. What's a morning look like at Rock 102?
I wake up at 3 o'clock.
Okay.
Shower, eat my breakfast, go online. I start, emailing sports stories and news stories to myself, and then I get on the road. I live in Hamden, so Hamden, East Long Meadows, bordering towns, not a big deal. Probably
Nice.
12 minutes to work.
Oh, perfect.
And then by the time I get there, it's about 4 o'clock, maybe a little bit after, and then I start writing right away. I write the view
Nice.
from the couch immediately. By 5 o'clock, I'm done writing it. So it takes a good solid hour. Maybe a little bit more depending on the day or what I'm trying to say or trying to get at. And then I get ready, physically for the show, and that's setting up the studio and getting my stuff together and hitting record for the daily podcast that we run. And then by 5:30, show begins.
Yep.
And once the show ends at 10, it's either I'm doing stuff around the radio station or I just go home and continue to work on the show. It's like there's not a
Never
point in the
stops.
day where things can't be applied to the show. So it really is, there's no real true downtime
Yeah.
per se. I mean, everything can be used. So, I mean, I may or may not talk about this fiasco tomorrow. I have no idea. Actually, tomorrow's a best of show because Steve's going to be got the day off.
He's off.
But so tomorrow I'm just going to be all alone with
Nice.
just twiddling my thumbs,
Yep.
drinking coffee,
Yep.
and that's going to be my day.
Well, you must like those best of shows. You know what I'm talking about? You can just let it run.
Yeah.
Well, it's
do a view from the couch.
it's easy, but
who puts those together? Who makes the best of? Like, who decides that?
Actually, Steve decided this.
Really?
This time. Yeah,
Nice.
I used to do it, but then Steve started to do it when he became a little bit more involved in that
More
kind of
involved,
stuff, and I'm like, okay, that's fine.
So when you're looking at when you're trying to edit the best of, you have, maybe it's Premiere Pro or an audio interface, right?
Yeah.
And you're just looking at recorded audio files and cutting them up and and then sticking them back together.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, you basically get you see a sound wave
Yeah.
file, and then you look at the time, you clip the ends and save it. It's it's
Dude,
not as
You could work on the radio.
Yeah.
Dude, for our listeners, that's huge for this fucking
Dude,
guy.
I struggle with technology.
Oh my
He
God.
tried to teach me, and it's literally just like a monkey humping a football. I'm so bad.
The
Yeah.
fact that he's swapping this camera
It's
is
huge
big for him.
It's huge.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, you guys got a good setup here, but
Thank
but
you, man.
but so I use for my podcast I use Pro Tools, which is like using
Yeah.
like a 900
That's
pound.
Apple, right?
No,
Oh.
it's on a regular laptop, not a Windows based.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay.
It's like a 900-pound gorilla trying to do like intricate surgery. It's like it's way too much technology for what I'm using it for.
Yeah.
yeah.
But every interview I do, I edit down. My interviews are like between half hour, 45 minutes, sometimes an hour.
Yeah.
But I always clip out stuff to make it smooth. Usually, I wind up clipping out more of my stuff than the guest stuff.
Yeah.
So that's I'm pretty good with that. When it comes to trimming the show down, Steve will do that, and it's you're really just taking out commercials and music for the most part.
Right.
And there's something worth saving for a later time. Steve will isolate that, put it aside, keep it in another file, and when it's time to do a best of show, we just pick out the ones we want to do.
Right.
And then it makes it much simpler. So we
Yeah,
get
that's
everything in a database. We know where everything is, and we can say we'll use these 8 bits today.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
it's cool. Pretty
That
simple.
is awesome, man. What do you think are the what do you think are the big differences? If you could give me 3 big differences aside from just being video
Yeah.
between podcasting and radio.
3 big differences.
Yeah.
Well, I
It
think
doesn't have to be 3. I'm just
come up with 27 different.
yeah.
I think the big differences is that as a host of a radio show, you're still bound to sponsors. You're bound to FCC regulations. You're also bound to community standards, and you're working for a company, and
Right.
you don't want to do anything that's going to jeopardize the license or anything that's going to jeopardize sponsors or advertisers. I mean, those are the kinds of risks that you run in regular in regular radio.
yeah.
In podcasting, you don't necessarily have those kinds of restrictions.
Right.
What my feeling is about it is you don't necessarily have to put out something that's filthy just because you can.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, of
it's
course.
like if you're looking for sponsors, sometimes a sponsor doesn't want to spend the money if you're just doing dick jokes the entire time.
Yeah.
That's why I've said dick so much on the show because if there's
can,
going to be
'cause
money,
you
it's
can.
this is the money I'm taking. But it is true. I mean, there are some things, some considerations that even podcasters need to think about as far as their financial viability, and
Right.
it's also, I think, the biggest challenge for podcasters is just continuing to do it.
Yeah.
It's very time consuming.
Taxing.
And I mean, you guys are doing like a long form
Yeah.
conversation. I'm not doing a long form conversation, but I'm booking, I'm editing, I'm
Oh yeah. It's a lot.
that's a lot. I mean,
It
it
is.
winds up being. I mean, I got a different guest every week,
Yeah.
so it's like that's hard to do. But the more you do it, the bigger reputation, the better reputation you get,
Yeah.
Right.
the easier it is to get something.
Right.
But I think those are the two big differences. I mean, there's some, there are similarities in it that spoken word content is, really the most important content there is.
Yeah.
That and local stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what better way is there to get a connection between an audience, whether it's an audience of 50,000 or an audience of 50.
Yeah.
If you're connecting with that audience, still great.
I think people are gonna love being able to see your facial expressions.
Yeah.
Oh well,
Dude.
Well, and listen,
You got a
listen-
powerful face. let me
Listen,
just say.
boys. when you're granted with good looks like this,
Yes.
you want to show it off. You really do. When you say it's a face for radio, yes, that's true. Only
know-
between the hours of 5:30 to 10. After 10 o'clock, I really blossom.
It blows up. That's great.
So
I really blow it up after that.
I hate to bring this up again, only for our viewers, because they just watched Steve's ep. But I got to do this. This movie just came out. It's on Netflix. It's called On the Line, produced, acted by Mel Gibson.
Okay.
Incredible fucking movie.
How do I do this shit again?
I actually haven't seen it.
Go to his camera.
Sorry.
Okay.
His camera.
Okay.
Then position
Okay.
2.
Boom.
Okay. So On the Line, he's a radio host.
Okay.
He's been on the radio for 30 years. A crazed listener
Mm-hmm.
kidnaps his family, all live on air, will not let him drop the call. If he does, he kills his family. I'm not going to tell you anything else. This movie is incredible. And every time you look down a little bit,
Yep.
you look just like this motherfucker. I'm not kidding, dude.
That was a good
listen.
camera swap. Nobody saw that.
All right, listen here. If you had said this 30 years ago, I would have taken that as a major compliment. He was a damn fine looking man 30 years ago. Now he just looks like a crazy old drunk guy.
No, listen, this is all I've been seeing for the past 2.5 hours.
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay. All right. Listen, I'll take it.
Take it.
Yeah, yeah. I'll yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
It's not like you're saying, have you seen the movie Quasimodo? You remind me of that guy, Hunchback, all messed up. That guy. I love his show, that Quasimodo.
No, you should watch this movie, man.
Yeah, I
It
will.
is very good.
I'll tell you what, there's a lot of crazy people listening to radio shows. That's for damn sure.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Actually, I remember when Netta first opened. You guys were on the air talking about, like, they had a lot of police presence there when they first opened. And one of you said something about, like, how, I can't remember which one of you had said it, but one of you had said something about how marijuana, like, basically, we're not ready to have access to marijuana like this. And for some reason, I fucking called you guys, and I was like, he can't be saying this shit. We're trying our best to get these laws passed. I'm like, you have no idea how many people need marijuana. Tell him to shut the fuck up.
It was probably me, and I can tell you why
It
I said
probably
that.
was.
I can tell you why I said that. I think at the time, it wasn't about whether I agreed with marijuana or disagreed with marijuana. But it had only been like 5 years before then where we said that ain't ever gonna happen.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was kind of like, it was bulldozed through. Now,
It was.
Oh, for
and,
sure.
and I had no problem with the medical marijuana thing. For people who benefited from it, I was like,
Right.
let them
Yep.
do it.
Right.
But if you're going to impose all these restrictions on the sale of it,
Yeah.
and then restrictions on the recreational sale of it,
Yeah.
then you're going to be asking for problems. And it wasn't about whether there would be selling it in schools or
Yeah.
crime. It's just like, no, there are going to be some people that will abuse the living shit out of it.
Oh, for
Right.
And they have. I mean,
Yeah.
that's,
Oh,
I
of
mean,
course.
I'm not a weed guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I was,
Yeah.
to be honest with you. I just don't get enough out of it, and I think that's only because I'm only smoking like 15 different bong hits a week. I think if I had like a big brick
45.
of the shit, then it'd be different.
I had a
But
brick.
I've never gotten a hell of a lot out of it.
Yeah.
Frankly.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not a big deal for me. I'm not against it by any means. But I think at the time that it was starting, just as that it was opening, it felt like, are we really ready for this?
Yeah.
Because
you remember this.
I do remember.
He does
Yeah,
remember
because
this.
at the time, John O'Brien was very much
Yeah.
for it. But
You're
he,
right.
but he
He
also
was.
had some health considerations
Yes,
too,
of course.
in which he did benefit
Yeah.
out of that. I qualified for enough medical calamities to get a card, but I just didn't. But I wasn't against it. Just like, okay, if we're gonna do this, are we doing this the right way, and are we doing it in a way that's going to make sense and
Yeah.
not create like
And that's
a black market for the stuff where all of a sudden we're mixing with rat poison and fentanyl. It's like,
and that's a great point of view to have, and that's what I meant earlier. Is
well, that's why
when
I said it.
asked-
I knew that would wow people.
Well, no, when I asked earlier, like, how do you balance the social issues? Is like a lot of people didn't agree with you at all.
Oh, I know.
But you said it, and you meant what you said. So when I like, how do you balance that in your head of like, I know some people are gonna fucking hate me for it, but like at the same time, I get it. You want to stay true to yourself, but like, you still got to make the business money.
Yeah.
So how do you balance that? Like really being yourself, but also still working for your boss.
It's a balancing act in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I mean, my job is to offer an opinion and to say things that may or may not land the right way.
Yeah.
Some things may be controversial. Some things may not be controversial. What I have to understand is that there's a limit
Yeah.
to what I'm going to say here, and can I go too far? And the answer is always going to be, oh yeah, I can go too far. And sometimes the best friend I have is the clock. So if I'm going on a riff, and all of a sudden I got to get to commercials by 20 past the hour, I can just stop. And
Like,
say,
all right.
well, we'll be back in just a bit, just a 2 and 2,
Yep.
and then that's it. We'll be back after these messages.
Yep.
And I've said my point. Sometimes you say more by saying less.
Yeah.
You just make that message more impactful.
Yeah.
That's kind
Like
of
that.
the seasoning of radio, is figuring out, well, where is that? Where is that sweet spot?
Yeah.
And it's something that a lot of people never figure out.
No, yeah.
But I've been lucky where if I do say something controversial, I know there's only going to be so far I'm going to push.
Yeah.
That falls right in with. So I've taken some media training just because I've wanted. This is what I want to do. So I've taken some media training, and one of the first things that they teach you is you have to have a message, and you got to consolidate that message. And when you get put in front of a light, no matter what the question is, you got to get your message out.
Yeah.
And you got to stick to that because you're not the editor. They can take what you say and put it any way you want.
And make it look crazy.
Or
Well, there's interpretation.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly. Like it goes back to the guy that thinks I'm a MAGA hat wearing Trump
Yeah,
guy.
yep,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
I'm not.
Yep.
But he saw a picture that makes him think that I am.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, you're gonna have to know your message and be consistent with it.
Right.
But know what the limitations are of that opinion. You don't have to spill it all out at once. Sometimes you pace yourself. Okay, I'll say this today. I'll say this next hour. I'll say this next month. You pace yourself.
Yeah.
So you're not just focusing on one thing or another, and you're not hammering the living crap out of it.
Yeah,
but you're
right.
parsing it out in a way that an audience is going to be able to accept, and some will agree with you and some won't, and that's okay. But if you're going on in an intolerant way, because sometimes when you don't do that, it sounds like you're just like a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
Then that can blow up on you.
Yeah.
For sure. Fucking Crystalia.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, touching kids had something to do with it.
Well, that didn't help either. That was problem. Again, that was insensitive.
Problematic.
That was insensitive. It really
What
was.
a goofy guy.
Knucklehead.
What a knucklehead that guy.
Well, that's the problem with some comics, isn't it? They just don't know when to stop touching.
Oh man.
I love the dark comedy, man. Just keep bringing it.
Eric, you got any more questions, brother?
I think, let's see here.
He's got to rip to the book.
Yeah, let's go.
I know, I've been killing it this episode.
Yeah,
Oh,
dude.
you really have.
I've just
Thank
been
you.
letting him. That's fucking. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, hey,
Thanks,
it's
brother.
okay. No, you're both doing just fine. Well, one of you is doing better, but I don't want to say which one. There you go. Come on, hand it over.
Improv.
Look at that. I'll tell you what. I am.
You're stacking it.
I'm balling right
Whoa,
now. I'm a
yeah.
total baller with this stuff.
Show your little camera.
Yeah, where you look at this.
Whoa.
Fake dollar bills, y'all.
That's it.
No, he's a radio host. He had no idea how to fan out these hundreds.
No, I've never seen that many hundreds at once.
Here, let me give you a couple more.
Oh, that's gonna make me feel good.
There you go.
Yeah,
There,
perfect.
Take them back.
Perfect. Let's see. At least a third of this is going to my ex-wife. So.
Here's some more for some alimony.
Yeah, no, let's not get into that.
Oh my
Anyway.
God, dude, this has been
this
so
has been
much
freaking
fun.
awesome, man.
I appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
Seriously.
It's been surreal having you on, dude. It's
Hey,
friggin-
anytime.
friggin-
Anytime.
It's crazy because like just doing this podcast stuff, it's just like you have people you never met before,
Yeah.
and then you have them in the studio for two and a quarter hours, and you become good friends. Because like we've had people on here, and I've never met them. They'd be like some of his music friends.
Yeah.
And by the end of this podcast, he's calling me a cuck like he's my best friend.
Look, I don't know what kind of best friends you're having, but if cucking is going to be, if cuckolding is going to be part of this, I'm not sure I need extra friends.
You need new friends.
I do.
Because that's the kind of thing that
I'm
can
kidding.
end a friendship
Yeah.
too. You know,
Yeah.
you feel close to a fella, you say, "Hey, have you met my wife?"
Yeah.
Next thing you
Oh
know,
yeah, I've met your wife.
you're jerking off alone in the corner.
Well, ain't that the kick in the face?
The
Isn't it?
kicker. Yeah.
So what else? What else can I share with you?
Oh man.
Or have exhausted you already?
No, you have not. Definitely
Okay.
not.
All right,
we
good.
could stay in here forever. I was expecting you to want to wrap it up around now.
Yeah,
So
listen.
that's really. I know you got to be up early.
Yeah, well, you know,
I got to be up early.
not for nothing,
All right.
but you know,
All right.
this
Here's
part
a-
of Northampton and Hamden are like they're so close, only an hour or so.
Only an hour. Jesus.
I've been killing it with the questions, so I'm going to ask you a real good question right
Sure.
now. What's your favorite Disney movie?
Ooh, boy, my favorite Disney
Believe it or not,
movie.
this will tell a lot about you.
That's a good question.
It
I don't know
is.
if I have a favorite Disney movie per se.
Okay. All right. That's a good answer for a 60-year-old man.
Yeah. I mean, I laughed so much during Bambi when the mom got killed. That was hilarious. Like Snow White was.
When she was sleeping?
What a whore! I mean, 7 little guys.
Hey.
So exploitive. Sleeping Beauty, that would be considered an assault.
Yeah,
at this
yeah,
point.
it is.
Those-
Guy kissing a beautiful woman who's asleep.
Yeah.
You'd never. What are you, like a Duke lacrosse player for crying out loud? I
What are you, Crystalia?
yeah, right. I mean, that's none of it.
At least those 7 little dwarves were depicted as 18.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I know, but you know how animation makes you look older than you actually are.
Yeah, right. Adds an extra 10 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, Dopey seemed a little young to
Yeah.
be hanging out with that crowd.
Just a little. He was 17.
Who knows?
Do you feel like I feel like you and Dopey are real similar?
Oh yeah, sleepy.
yeah.
Fuck, dopey and sleepy.
Yeah, well, that's
Well,
it.
when you smoke the dope, you get a little sleepy.
It's true. It is true.
When's
Well.
the last time you smoked weed?
Smoked weed?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's been
Marquette.
years.
Yeah.
No, I mean, no, it's been since then. But I mean, it's like God, it's probably been at least 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah. I just
Good for
don't.
you.
No, well, is that true? I don't know. I was so high at the time, I can't remember. Yeah, no, it's just.
You've been 2 whole new humans since then, so that makes
Yeah, right. It's true.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just haven't. It's just not. It's not my thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Not for everybody.
You don't get like anxiety though. It's just
oh, I believe me, I'm riddled with anxiety. I've shit my pants 4 times since I got here.
no. I mean, like,
Come on,
no. Like when you smoke pot.
I shit my pants.
I know a lot of guys.
Hot in a smock. Hot in a smock.
You know a lot of guys.
I know a lot of guys that yeah. I know. No, I know a lot of guys that like they'll smoke pot for years, and then
Yeah.
one day they just get fucking anxious, and they're like, "I'm done. I don't like that feeling.
Yep.
I never got that feeling before. I've never got that feeling."
Fuck. I've recently toned it down a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I'll take like maybe.
I don't let them smoke on the show anymore.
No.
Yeah. I mean, to me, like right now, like the most I do is coffee. I mean,
There you go.
that's
There you go.
I got a wicked buzz off that
Dude,
stuff.
have you ever been out to Spencer, Mass?
Yes.
Have you ever had Dippin' Donuts? Dude, I'm going to say it right now, and I'm a big fan. Fuck Dunkin' Donuts.
Listen, Dunkin'
Dude.
Donuts is a sponsor of the Baxendale show.
can't say
America runs on Dunkin'.
You
But-
know how many times I've heard you say that?
Yeah,
You
I know. Well, thank you this because
That's why I'm
now that
telling
Dunkin's no longer going to sponsor the show, I'm going to need the $100.
That's what I'm telling you right now.
Dude, I went to this. All right, so it's right down the road from this school that we're building. Great spot. Dude, I got a fucking coffee roll today that was baked this morning. I'm not even kidding you. It was this
Size of
fucking
your head?
round.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
it was like this fucking thick. I
Mhm.
ate it for breakfast and lunch.
Have you guys been to Donut Dip?
Yeah, in
Yeah,
West Springfield.
yeah, of
That's what I
course.
thought he was talking about.
Yeah.
He told me
No,
about
this
it.
place
It
called
was just
Dippin' Donuts.
Donut Dip.
Oof.
Phenomenal.
It's
It is.
ridiculously good. Ridiculously good.
Oh,
Dippin's
I got
better.
a question.
Yeah.
You know the game Marry Fuck Kill?
No.
Okay, so you got to pick one of the things to either marry, fuck, kill. It's usually with people, but I'm going to give restaurants.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
Donut Dip,
I'd marry
Frigos,
that. Marry fucking kill.
Red Rose Pizza.
Oh, I see. I like Red Rose a lot. I really would. I would.
That was
marry-
a good
I would
one.
Marry that too. I like Frigos. Frigos is good in a pinch. I don't go there enough.
So you're fucking Frigos?
But I mean, I'm heavy petting. Let's put it that way. That's all I'm doing. Just heavy petting with it. I mean, I like Frigos as a friend.
Okay.
Okay.
You're
I'm
good.
yeah.
You're good. Are you the
I'm
one?
friend zoning.
Friend zoning Frigos. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but no, no. Red Rose will go to. My wife and I go there, every now and then.
Nice.
Like
So
it.
good.
So
you're
it is good.
You're not leaving Red Rose unread.
No.
No.
You're
no.
replying immediately.
Yes.
Oh,
I love that,
absolutely,
yes.
I love that.
absolutely. Yeah. Even if it's just the house salad, that's a good goddamn
God,
salad,
yeah.
man. And look at me, like I'm a guy that looks like I'm drinking, eat pounded down a lot of salad, but I will fuck that up.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I will totally screw that up. Yeah.
man.
That's
My
good
bearded
stuff.
dragon loves a salad.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You got a bearded dragon?
I do. His name's Rufus.
Rufus.
Ah.
I like it. Yeah. Well, listen, that they eat vegetables. That's what they do.
Yeah.
And worms
Yeah.
and shit.
Yeah.
You only do that.
Mealworms. I ate one just to prove to my kids that it was okay for him to eat it.
A worm?
Yeah. Yeah. That's. I bet your kids really respect that.
They do.
Do they really?
Oh yeah, they know.
Eating meal-
They know everything is possible. I'm teaching them right.
Yeah,
all
you
right?
really are. The man who bored us is now
Eating worms.
eating worms.
In the living
Well,
room.
I had to eat them as kids. I'm not letting them eat them. I'm just letting them watch me eat them.
I don't. Worms. I'm not. I'm not a picky eater, but I'm going to say no on the worms.
It's a texture.
I don't even know it's the texture. I just don't want to taste something that's going to taste me back. You know what I mean?
I don't know. That's kind of what
It's like,
I
eating,
like
it's like
to
eating
taste.
tongue. I've had tongue,
Yeah.
like tongue sandwiches, and just
Really?
like yeah,
Ugh.
like deli tongue. It's like
know.
nah, it's not that great.
Is that like cow tongue? Lamb
yeah,
tongue?
yeah. It's a little tough for me.
You ever have alligator tongue?
I've had it. I have no, not.
don't
I've
think
had
they have
alligator
tongues.
meat. But,
Have you?
Oh yeah.
Is it gamey?
It's good.
The joke is it tastes like chicken. It literally
Yeah.
tastes like chicken.
Really?
It's a dark,
Yeah.
like a dark meat.
It's chicken.
Big Mamu in Springfield used to cook
There used to be a Big
Wait a
Mamu's right in
minute.
Williamsburg.
Williamsburg, yeah.
That was
If
very
if
good.
alligators taste like chicken, and there's a big difference between an alligator and a chicken,
True.
then humans definitely came from monkeys. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because they say we're so close, right? We
Right.
probably taste the same, but we're very different.
I don't know. Again, I have no proof of this. I hear it tastes very much like pork.
Huh?
Monkey?
Human food. Human,
Oh,
human meat. Human meat.
No,
And
wasn't
the closest I know this is I've dated a few pigs in my time.
Nice.
I don't mean that, but no, that's what I've heard. I mean, I
I
don't
thought
know
you were
if it's
about
true.
to say that you like fucking interviewed Ozzy Osbourne or some
Yeah.
shit.
well, they used to like.
I did, but we didn't get to that conversation.
You interviewed Ozzy?
Yeah, I did.
Wow.
the Prince of Darkness.
Yeah,
I'm 1 degree away from Ozzy Osbourne right now.
I'm
kidding.
I am almost 100% sure that he would have no recollection of that at all.
Yeah.
Probably.
This is
80s, 90s.
this would have been the 80s. Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fire.
That was
Wait a minute. In the 80s.
in the 80s, like 89.
So
89.
Did he have
you
the
were
slurred-
21.
80. No, I would have been
3?
23.
23.
Yeah.
66.
Was he still like slurring and like?
He was completely. He was almost incoherent.
Really?
Oh yeah.
You ever watch that movie The Dirt?
wicked good.
It's on. It's
No.
Motley
Oh
Crue
yeah,
movie.
yeah, yeah. No, I did see
Yeah,
that.
where
We
you
snorting the
fucking-
ants off the
Yeah,
up a pool.
man.
Yeah,
Fucking
that's
licking
good.
Piss and shit. Ugh.
The first radio station I worked for, like I said, it was a hard rock station, so we had all these guys coming in.
Yeah.
And like I said, it was practically like the Medellin cartel, as far as like the coke that was going in and out of that place. But we would have all these guys come in if they were in town. They'd come into the radio station, or we'd go to events with them. And yeah, I mean back then I met a lot of these guys, and some of these guys are freaking crazy. And
Did
some of
any
these
of
guys are
them-
a lot of fun.
Did any of them ever offer you to do drugs with them, like in the studio?
No,
Some-
no,
Not in the studio.
not
Selfish
in the studio. But I mean, there were times that you see like 5 guys getting out of a bathroom stall, all
Yep.
scratch, with their
Yeah.
hands in their nose.
You're like, man, I'm not cool.
yeah, someone hanging out.
Nobody
with us.
invited me.
Yeah, but
That's
yeah,
how-
no, so there were we did a lot of stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I bet, man.
Yeah, those are fun times.
dude.
All my best stories come from those early Milwaukee days.
Yeah.
For radio.
From
Yeah.
Jeffrey
Came up-
Dahmer. Yeah.
Jeffrey Dahmer to hanging out with Kevin Nealon.
Yeah,
to-
Kevin Nealon, Ozzy.
Oh yeah.
So
Man, that's
how-
a lot of freaking
Oh, yeah.
celebs, man.
Yeah. What's it like dealing with the FCC? Do they send you like, so like in blue collar work, we get prints or we get codes every year
Yes.
of how a building is meant to be. Is the FCC, are they similar to that, where like maybe every other year they change some policies, you get to reread it?
It used to be where the FCC would change every 4 years, and
Okay.
they would kind of figure out what they wanted to do with their time.
Mm.
The only time where there's ever been any, I don't know, I felt like there was any real pressure from the FCC was after the old Janet Jackson.
Oh, the nip slip.
Yeah,
Justin Timberlake,
The nip slip.
the wardrobe malfunction.
one of my most replayed moments in history.
Oh yeah, no, it's great television, but
Yeah.
but for some reason, radio stations kind of took some level of blame for that, which I never understood.
Made no sense.
Yeah, we had to sign waivers. We had that we
To
weren't
talk about a nipple?
to talk about obscenity.
Oh, okay.
To talk about we could expose our nipples all we wanted,
yeah.
but we couldn't. But there were certain things that we could not talk about,
Yeah.
and we all had to sign these forms that said that, that if we got caught talking about obscenity, that the station wouldn't support us and we could lose our jobs.
I just envisioned Steve
Steven,
talking
you
about Kim Kardashian in the morning. Just,
Yeah. But it's funny. It's like, even in spite of that Kim Kardashian thing that's been going on for almost 20 years,
Oh my God.
we've only had one bona fide FCC complaint about us. And
Really?
it had nothing to do with anything that was sexual.
What was it about? If you can.
Yeah, because we talked about this on the air after it happened. Did you guys ever see the movie Something About Mary?
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay, remember Warren?
Yeah.
Okay, don't touch his ears.
Right.
Have you
Yep.
seen my baseball? There was a state rep that had gotten into a little bit of trouble, And I don't want to say his name, but many people will know who it is. The whole family wound up going to jail for any number of things. But the guy looked just like Warren.
Really?
And every time we talked about this guy in the news, I played, have you seen my baseball? Don't touch his ears. Franks and beans. Every time. So this guy, this state rep, or at this point, former state rep, files a complaint with the FCC that we
Really?
were making fun of, people who were, cognitively challenged or, developmentally disabled. Now, my brother-in-law in my first marriage had Down syndrome. So if it was anyone going to be sensitive about that, it was probably going to be me.
Yeah.
But it was uncanny how much this guy looked like Warren. And so he wrote this whole letter, and we were sent a copy of the letter. The FCC reviewed it. They sent us a letter of their finding where they said that this, we have listened to the tape, we have read the complaint. This does not rise to the level of a bona fide FCC complaint.
Huh.
So, of course, we then read that letter on the air to talk about it, and all the while, Franks and beans, we seen my baseball. Later on, after this guy gets out of jail, because he did go to jail, he decides he wants to run for state rep again, and he wanted to come in the studio to announce his candidacy. And we thought, you gotta be kidding me! The guy that wrote an FCC complaint about us
Franks and beans. Guy.
wants to be on the air. So we put him on the air. And we brought the whole thing up. We didn't talk about anything about his election campaign.
Fuck your message.
Yeah,
right.
pussy.
Yeah. Frank and beans. Yeah, that was a good one. But that was the only time we've ever had any involvement with the FCC at all.
That's good, man.
Yeah, I don't know how we
That's
skirted it, but we did.
Spotless record.
Pretty much.
Especially after meeting you guys. Holy shit.
Well, anyone who thinks that we're shock jocks, obviously doesn't really understand the show because we're really not.
Yeah, no,
even,
you're
even the
definitely not.
Kardashian thing is all innuendo.
It's just funny.
It's just plain funny.
Yeah.
Right. Especially now that it's like nobody even fucking Pornhubs that video anymore. You know what I mean?
Well, there's so many other things
well,
to jerk off to.
yeah.
Well, speak for yourself.
Hawk to a girl, there's so many other things.
Which that one I don't understand.
Yeah.
The whole spitting thing. That's
Yeah,
like,
sure is.
come on, that's that's
You don't like
unsettling.
being spit on, Bax?
Drooled, yes. Spit, no. They go horking a big Luger at me. No, I'm all set. That's okay. Come on, there's a time and a place for that, and that's in between innings. Okay, please, no.
You get another one, brother. You get another one. You're killing it. You're fucking killing it, man.
Well, thank you.
Dude, you've officially gone longer than
Steve.
Steve, really? I got more to say. I'm far more fascinating.
Well,
And you're hot
no,
to
it
smock.
makes-
Hot to smock,
It
everybody.
makes sense. So, how established into Rock 102 were you when Steve got there? You'd been there, but at least 10 years by then, right?
So yeah,
was 01.
yeah, 10. I think the 10 or 11 years I've been there.
Yeah,
No,
all
we
right.
were pretty well rooted by that point.
So, you're like his mentor, really.
I don't know if he would see it that way, but yes,
Yeah.
I've guided him and coddled him and suckled him from an infancy. Actually,
No, I can tell where his jokes come from now. No, I'm kidding.
yeah, I'm throwing him cards all day. Actually, I was part of the decision to hire him
Nice.
years ago. We actually needed a guy to do nights,
Yep.
and he was working for another radio station. And the program director at the time, got this whole box of tapes, which you called the talent slurry. I always thought that was the talent
slurry.
because there's usually a box of just the worst
It's like the
shit. You're already
casting
like,
couch.
I want to be in the radio to see if I can do it, and it's like, no, you can't. But Steve's tape was the best one.
Dude, it's so funny to think of the radio's casting couch as just a box of someone's tapes.
Oh, it's the most depressing thing in the world to really know how it works.
They all got dust on top of them.
Oh, yeah. There's some tapes that have been in there for literally years. But Steve's was there, and it really was the best one. And me and the program director at the time, this guy named Neil Mursky, said, yeah, this guy's got something. And they hired him.
Nice.
And within a couple of years, we lost our producer, Bobby.
Yep.
And I said, well, I wonder if Steve would want that. And Neil said, that's a really good idea. Let's ask him. and that was it. He became the producer, and he just
Took
freaking
off.
crushed it.
So
yeah.
how often were you and Steve like interacting in between, like before he actually made it to doing the show with you? Were you guys like becoming friends along the way? Were you
Before he joined the morning show, I didn't see him that much. I mean,
Right,
well, he's
right.
working at nights,
Yeah.
and I'm coming in many hours after he
he's
would be done.
leaving, you're coming in?
Yeah.
Or he had already left by that
Yeah.
point.
Right,
He's
right.
gone at midnight or 11 o'clock, and I'm coming in at 3. So I never really saw him that much. I mean,
Yeah.
occasionally, and we got along fine. We had a mutual friend.
Yeah.
But once he started working on the show, we got along pretty well. I mean, we've
yeah.
always gotten along pretty well.
Like for me and him, it was strange. It was like the moment Lewis introduced us to each other, it was like in the dap, that perfect fucking
Handshake. Like,
It
what's
was
up?
like I felt like I was like, dude, have I known you?
Yeah.
Fucking
Well, that's
forever?
I can't tell you,
You know what I
that- and we're running short on time, but but that is 95% of it.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
If because you can't fake or contrive
No.
chemistry. You either got it or you don't.
Yeah, right.
And I've been involved in other morning shows that didn't have it.
Yeah.
And it feels bad. It feels unnatural.
Every dead moment's
Every-
awkward.
Not even the dead moments, but
but
even the active moments.
Yeah.
It just happens where it just doesn't connect. On the other hand, when it does, and I've in the case of Rock 102, I've been very, very lucky.
Yeah.
I may not have had a lot in common with some of the people I work with, but it's not really about that. It's about this organic, natural chemistry that happens between people.
Yeah.
And if you can get that, God damn it, don't let go of it, because
Right.
it's
Oh,
a
yeah.
it's a unicorn. It's a very rare thing. So you guys are doing well.
Thank
Thanks.
you, man.
We appreciate that.
That means a lot coming from you.
Yeah.
It
Well,
really does.
I'm a big fat liar.
All right, you deserve another one for that shit, motherfucker. Bax, this has been an amazing time, dude.
Hey,
Thank
I've
you
had a good time.
so much for coming in here. Before we get you out of here, do you have any projects coming up soon? Anything you're working on? We've talked about the podcast, but are you anything else? Maybe like something new with Rock 102. What's new coming up?
Nothing specifically new. I mean, right now we're getting ready to. Right now, I'm pushing the podcast pretty good. There was some question about my boss said, well, in March it's going to be your 30th anniversary. What do you want to do? I said, well, I probably just want to go home and eat lunch.
Yeah.
So
Can I have the day off?
A pastry from La Fiorentina, maybe.
well, that would be fine. Yeah, that would be
Some
good.
pastries.
But I mean I think that's probably the next thing that's going to come up. I'm not really the kind of guy that's looking for a parade or
So-
a dinner. But
Yeah.
it's like I think that they're going to probably announce something on the air when it happens.
What day is it specifically?
March 20th.
March 20th. All right, I'll make sure to come in with some Dippin' Donuts
There you go.
just for you.
This is working out really good, guys. I got to tell you.
What are you doing March 15th?
March 15th. No, I'm not sure.
We're doing a headliners only comedy show. Would you like to do some comedy?
Oh God, that's
It's been a while, buddy, but you still
I'm like
got it.
I'm an old rusted gate, dude.
You still got it.
I don't know.
Look at the stack of cash you got for making us laugh.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you could convert this into real $100 bills,
it would
no,
mean something.
I've considered it, and I think that my time on stand up has probably passed me by. But I appreciate the offer. It does sound like a lot of fun, though.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. That's March 15th. Bax, dude, you are literally the voice
Hilarious.
of our community.
Thank you.
We appreciate all the work you put back into the community, just giving us your time, man. This platform is just a way to show everybody why we love people like you.
No, thank you.
The real backs.
Appreciate it.
The real backs.
And at one of these points, when you guys are free, like in the mornings, Steve and I would love to have you on the show.
Oh,
Perfect.
my God.
We both talked about it.
We'd love to.
Yeah,
That sounds
Absolutely.
you have to watch your mouths a little bit.
Yeah,
That's not a
yeah.
problem.
You know,
I
you could
gotta
swear like a
train
couple
myself.
of drunken sailors
Yeah,
over here.
I won't. Trust me, I don't swear for like 12 hours a day.
We
so.
tried to shoot a promotional video, and he looks at me and goes, "Yeah, we'll do a clean video. Just don't swear." 30 seconds in, I'd go, "Yeah, fucking right."
I literally look at him. I'm like, bro.
And he goes,
See, you already sound like professional broadcasters. That's the thing. Is when the mics go on, none of that. But
Yeah.
when the mics are off,
Yeah.
oh man,
Oh, yeah.
we're gonna let her rip.
"That's awesome."
Really do.
Well, man, we look forward to working together in the future.
Yeah.
Anytime you
awesome.
want to have me back, it'd be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Let's get out
Awesome.
of here, guys.
All right, thank you.
Woo!
This is Move the Mic podcast, presented by Underwood Studios. With your hosts, Damien, Eric,
And you barely touched your water.
It's those. Oh, man. I don't like them, but I put them on.
Get used to this.